Hello and what's up, GSC Pokemon Challenges fam? We are back, Morty Minimum Battles Episode 2. This is going to be a very interesting episode, I think. We are coming in with 17 challengers, including an awful lot of flying types. Starting, of course, with our Butterfree, the bug flying. We've got the entire Pidgey line. We've got Fearow coming in this one. We've got Golbat and Crobat. We've got Togetic, and we've got Xatu. So that already is going to be just a massive gamut of flying types, many of whom are normal flying, so they might not have great moves for this section of the game. We're just gonna have to see. We've also got, of course, normal types like Raticate and Furret coming in this one. We've got Arbok, Pikachu, Raichu, Sandslash, and we've got Lanturn, one of the Pokemon that gave me an awful lot of trouble in the previous sections. We're also going to follow that up with a couple of our member picks, of course. We are going to have Vileplume, because I really want to see how a grass poison type will do in this section, especially when it doesn't learn any sort of like coverage move like Ancient Power or something here. And we're going to have Chinchou, one of the Pokemon of the member picks that also gave me massive troubles in the previous section. So I'm really unsure how we're going to perform in this episode. I predict that rival number 3 is going to pose a massive wall for some of these normal flying type Pokemon. Because consider, they aren't going to get any really good TMs to deal with the Haunter outside of learning Hidden Power Dark, but these Pokemon typically don't have great special stats, so I'm not sure if that move will even be one-shotting there. And then we still have a Magnemite to deal with. The Magnemite 4 times resists our flying type moves and 2 times resists our normal type moves. So yet again, there might not be enough options for these normal flying types to get through. Togetic with Metronome might have the best chance of all of them. With that being said, with Pokemon that have other types of coverage, I think they will have a decent shot of getting through this section. So I'm going to predict that 12 of our 17 challengers get through. But drop your predictions down below. And with that, let's just get into the first Pokemon. Let's start off with our Butterfree and see how it does. It does no confusion, so it maybe has a chance, but we have to find out. Now, of course, Butterfree was using the Sleep Powder Nightmare strat in the previous section, and that could actually prove to be completely overpowered here. We're just gonna have to see. First things first, I'm just gonna take on the Kimono Girls really quick. I don't expect them to be too hard, so I'm gonna cut a lot of the Kimono Girls out of this episode, unless we actually run into a wall there. But with that done, it's time to go and try our hand against rival number 3, where, yet again, we're gonna be relying really heavily on the Nightmare strat, and that could make this one pretty inconsistent at the very least. So rival 3 attempt number 1, we are in a speed tie currently with the Haunter. So if we can manage to put it to sleep, we'll be in good shape. Instead, it licks us a couple times and then curses before we can actually land the Sleep Powder. And that's pretty much all she wrote for this first attempt. Still, it is a speed flip and then a 75% chance to actually hit with Sleep Powder. So we simply need to get that 37.5% chance to get the sleep here turn 1, and then I think we have a pretty easy time getting through, of course, if the Haunter actually stays asleep. Still, it is very inconsistent, so the natural strategy here would be to simply forego this for now and instead make our way to Olivine, where we can probably gain a level. I'm not actually sure with these medium fast level up Pokemon, but let's just see what kind of range we get when we come over here and take these extra battles. And routing decisions like this are just going to become more and more important as we continue in the game, especially when we're looking at the section with Jasmine, Price, and Chuck, which we're gonna do all in one go. So if you really wanted to look at it some way, you could basically say we are giving up the ability to get these extra battles in the future to get them right now in order to try to make rival 3 more consistent. And as we come into the last fight in the lighthouse against Meryl, we can see that we're just getting enough XP to level up to level 23 here, and we could learn Whirlwind in order to even phase opponents. And I'm going to just try to use that over Poison Powder because I can't see a situation where we're going to need Poison Powder. Of course, eventually I think we'll upgrade that with another damage dealing move. But for now, let's just make our way to the top of the tower. We'll grab the rare candy on the way down, though we shouldn't need it at this point. We have gotten the level that we need to now outspeed against that Haunter. Of course, we're going to lead off with Sleep Powder. Now it's a 75% chance of landing Sleep Powder turn 1. That's all we really need, and then just a long enough sleep to keep this Haunter from using Curse. Here we can put it to sleep, go into Confusion. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. I don't think there's any reason to go Nightmare here, and we can easily knock that Pokemon out. Magnemite's out next, and the one advantage we have is that Magnemite is slow, so we can simply put this Pokemon to sleep, and here we definitely do want to go Nightmare because it's going to resist Confusion. Still, I think 3 turns of Nightmare. In that case, we actually got a critical hit, which is perfectly fine, allowed us to get through. Now, Quilava is slower than our Butterfree, so we can go back into the Nightmare strat here, and then just try to knock this Pokemon out with Confusion. Fortunately, that seems to work just fine. Getting us to level 24 as Zubat comes out, and now we can go for Confusion. I don't think we need to do anything else. It gets confused, knocks itself out in Confusion, but 2 hits from Confusion would have been enough there. It's not like it was going to be able to do anything to knock out Butterfree. So just like that, we managed to get through the rival after getting an additional level. It's still not perfectly consistent. You need that 75% chance to land asleep, but that's consistent enough that I think anybody could agree it's a decent enough strategy for getting through. And now we can make our way to Morty's gym, where we have Confusion, which is super effective, and we have Sleep plus the Nightmare strat. So I think we're going to be able to make our way through this, but let's find out. We are slower than the Gengar, which is important, but Gengar could just miss with the Hypnosis. So Morty attempt number 1, I'm simply going to go Confusion on the first Ghastly and get the 1-hit KO. Haunter's out next, and we are faster, so I'm going to put this Pokemon to sleep to try to avoid Hypnosis and Curse, and then we can simply get an easy 2-hit KO with Confusion. Gengar is the scary Pokemon. It goes for Hypnosis and it lands, which means it can go into Dream Eater, which didn't do that much. It's going to be like a 3-hit KO with Dream Eater. Still, to make this more consistent, we would want the Mint Berry on in order to avoid that sleep. So let's try this one again. Here we can simply once again knock out the Ghastly. Same strategy here on the Haunter. We really want to put this Pokemon to sleep, but when it goes Curse, I think we just have to knock it out the next turn. Here Gengar misses Hypnosis. Let's see how much damage Confusion does on this Pokemon. It does just a little under half. So ideally we would want a Nightmare here and then Confusion to knock this Pokemon out. Finally, we've got the Haunter. We should definitely put it to sleep. We just barely hang on, and anything short of a critical hit will not get us through here. So we will in fact need to avoid the Curse to get this fight to go. Still, it's just a matter of getting that 75% chance for Sleep Powder to hit on that second Pokemon, and I think we're going to be able to get this one pretty easily. We get the luck on the next attempt as Gengar comes out. It misses Hypnosis. We can simply put it to sleep. Confusion. Really, 3 Confusions is perfectly fine. We even confuse the Gengar while it's asleep. And that brings us to the final Haunter, where I don't think we need to do anything here. I mean, what's it going to do? Nightshade? We don't have Curse on, so we've really got nothing to be afraid of. And we beat Morty just like that. So not perfectly consistent. Everything kind of comes down to sleep luck with this Pokemon, but it is possible to beat Morty on minimum battles with a Butterfree. So with that done, let's get into our more normal flying types. We of course have the entire Pidgey line. We have Fearow, Noctowl, and Togetic. All normal flying. Let's see how these Pokemon do. So I'm going to lead off with the Giga Chad Pidgeot because it is the only one that has unevolved forms that are still in the running. We're coming into this section with Gust, Sand Attack, Mud Slap, and Quick Attack. Of course, we could add on something like Return, but it doesn't do anything for us against Ghosts. So the only effective move that we can learn here that's not currently on our moveset would be to learn Hidden Power Dark for Ghosts, and then we could go Max Power Return if we absolutely need to for other opponents, but that's basically it with this Pokemon. I mean, technically we do have the middle of road Swift as well, and we do have accuracy strats as a last ditch effort to try to get something to work. So here we have the option to learn Whirlwind. I'm actually going to skip this move because again, I don't think there's a lot of spots for phasing strats. Like we would have to at least take a hit from our opponents in order to use it. So I just don't think it's worthwhile here. But as we make quick work of all of the Kimono Girls, we can move on in the game. Let's go try our hand at rival number 3 with this first attempt coming at level 24. We already know that these medium slow level up Pokemon can gain 1 additional level by going to the lighthouse, and we can pick up 2 rare candies in this section, but even that might not be enough. We'll just have to see. So rival number 3 attempt number 1, I think our best strategy is to go for Gust here. It does about half and then Haunter knocks itself out. Magnemite's out next. I'm gonna go Mud Slap, which did surprisingly good damage, and we tanked the Thundershock nicely. So that's an easy 2-hit KO. Out next is Zubat. I'm gonna go back to Gust here. Of course, Curse is doing a lot of damage, but it missed Supersonic, so we did knock that Pokemon out. Now we've got to deal with Croconaw though, and Croconaw looks to be a 4-hit KO here. So there's simply no way that we're getting through that with the Curse on. I mean, consider that was pretty darn good luck that we didn't take any damage from the Zubat and didn't get confused, and still we just have nothing that would even get us in a reasonable range against that Croconaw. So I'm going to pick up the items that are available here and take the extra battles that are available inside of the lighthouse. Let's see if that is enough with our Pidgeot. Now the one advantage that so now with an additional level plus 2 rare candies and hidden power in the bag, let's come back and try the rival again, and let's just see what kind of ranges we can get, starting with our current moveset. So with 1 additional level against the Haunter, of course we're not going to get a 1-hit KO. It goes for Spite this time though, so we actually knock it out without taking Curse. Out next is the Magnemite. I'm going Mud Slap. We're hoping for a miss. It misses Supersonic, and that allows us to knock that Pokemon out. Out next is Zubat. I'm going to go back into Gust here. It goes Confuse Ray, so we are confused, but we knock that Pokemon out. We're on full health to the Croconaw this time. This is kind of insanely good luck, and we snap out a Confusion. Bite doesn't do enough, and Pidgeot manages to win. So that was incredibly lucky, I think. And it kind of makes me want to test this one out a couple more times, just because, yes, we got through, but that might have been insane luck. Here instead we get Curse, which is, I think, the more standard play. Mud Slap is still going to get a 2-hit KO on the Magnemite, but we survive against the Thundershock only to get paralyzed and have to knock it out the next turn. Zubat is out next. It confuses us, so now we're paralyzed and confused, and we can see that we pretty easily lose that second attempt there. Still, that was incredibly bad luck, so let's see more middle of the road. Here with a critical hit, we are able to one-shot the Haunter with Gust. So a critical hit would allow us to get through that first Pokemon without upgrading our moveset in any way and avoid Curse. And remember, I've said a lot of times that 1 critical hit is a reasonable amount of luck in my mind. So with that, we can now go Gust on the Zubat. We get confused again by Confuse Ray, but we knock it out. We are to the final Croconaw, this time with about 62 HP remaining. We snap out a Confusion. Bite doesn't do enough damage, so we are able to win. So with all of that analysis, I think we can say that Pidgeot is actually reasonable to get through here. We just need to really rely on a critical hit, and I think if we added on a move like Swift to just have a normal type move that would also be slightly stronger than our other moves against everything other than the Haunter and the Magnemite, we could reasonably say we're getting through that fight with a Pidgeot. Now, however, we have to get into the gym where we're going to face a lot more curses. Let's see how this goes. Now, the one advantage we have here is that Gust is a physical same type move, and we have so many levels on these opponents that we're generally one-shot or two-shotting all of their Pokemon. So that brings us to Morty on full health. We really had no problem with the randos, but now we have to get through the gym leader himself. So Morty leads off, of course, with a Ghastly. I think Gust will one-shot. Sure enough, it does. Out next is Haunter. This Pokemon should be a 2-hit KO without a crit, so it does get to use Curse on me. Next is Gengar. We are faster. We can use Gust. We get put to sleep, however, and the Sleep, Dream Eater, Curse combo is more than enough to knock us out. So it's pretty clear the Mint Berry is the way to go here. And the way that the ranges were looking against Gengar, I even even think it might be worth it to go for one Mud Slap there to just further reduce the accuracy of Hypnosis. So back to the Haunter, this time it uses Hypnosis on us, so we use the Mint Berry there and knock it out, but that does mean we have no Curse as we go into the Gengar. So I'm going to give one Mud Slap here just to make Hypnosis even less accurate, and then we use 2 more Gusts to knock Gengar out. We're to the final Haunter, which has no damaging moves that can affect Pidgeot, so it can really only go Mimic or Spite against us. And this is going to be a 2-hit KO with Gust. So once we get to that final Haunter, it's actually not that bad. The Mint Berry is, I think, the key to make that one more consistent, but Pidgeot manages to get through just fine through the Morty section. So now let's see how a more offensively minded bird does. Let's check in on our Fearow. So Fearow is coming in with Peck, Mudslap, Leer, and Swift. Peck is a little bit weaker, I believe, than Gust. They're pretty much the same though. So I think this comes down a lot more to the fact that we have still good speed, but we have a better attack stat, but less in terms of defensive stats than the Pidgeot that we were just running. The other major factor here though is that we are in the medium fast level up group with Fearow, so it's not going to get as many levels as what we just had with Pidgeot, and that could actually be its Achilles heel. Still, it gets through the Kimono Girls just fine, so let's check in on the Rival 3 fight. So Rival 3 first attempt, let's just see how much damage Peck does here. It does slightly less than half. So the Haunter even survives after using Curse, so that slight difference in damage between Gust and Peck is actually relevant here. Keep in mind we're also at a lower level, so we have fewer levels to go into the damage calculation. Here against the Magnemite, we can still go for the Mud Slaps, and then we're going to go Swift on the Zubat and almost get the one-hitter, just not quite enough. Now Croconaw comes out, we can go Swift. This appears to be a 3-hit KO. A critical hit would get us through right here. It's just not going to be super consistent. So I'm going to go out, I'm going to once again go to the Lighthouse, and let's just get the couple extra levels that we can get, because at level 23 that is a damage rounding threshold and could help this Pokemon get a better range on the Haunter. So here with a couple additional levels from the Lighthouse, let's see how Rival 3 goes now. So of course I'm going to stick with the same strategy here of Peck on the Haunter. We still don't get the range for it to knock itself out when it uses Curse, so that's going to be a 3-hit KO with that move. Now Mudslap on the Magnemite is still not a 1-hit KO, and we get damaged by Thundershock this time. Zubat's out next, I'm going for Swift. We get a 1-hit KO on that Pokemon, and let's see what the range looks like on Croconaw. Still a 3-hitter unless we get a critical hit. Still, there are no other moves for us to learn. We won't ever be able to get to Pursuit here via level up, and basically everything else is either a TM that I would consider putting us into the under reasonable TMs list. And because we're a male Pokemon, it's not like we can go attract strats here against the Haunter. So yeah, this is kind of bad. This time we do manage to get to Croconaw with really good health remaining, however. We got a miss from Thundershock and we one-shot against the Zubat. So it's just a question of whether or not we can deal enough damage. Still no, Bite is enough to knock us out with the Curse adding up. Still, this is a spot where I think according to my rules, we reset to try to get a critical hit on that Croconaw. It is a situation where perhaps a berry could help us though, because just that little extra bit of health might be enough to allow us to get one more hit as well. So this time we're to Croconaw. We managed to get the miss again from Thundershock after using a Mud Slap, but this time we have a berry on our Pokemon, so we will be able to regain just a little bit of HP. And with that, we even get the critical hit and knock that Pokemon out, but I'm pretty sure we would have gotten 2 more shots on his Pokemon before we fainted from the Curse. So with that, I think that's the actual strategy, is to throw a berry onto your Fearow, but you do want to go get the extra levels at the Lighthouse. I think that's just going to make it more consistent. But now with that done, it is time to make our way into Morty's gym, where we're simply going to be pecking against the competition, and let's see what kind of ranges we get now with our Fearow. So here we actually do level up enough to learn the move Pursuit, which would technically be super effective here. The question is just, is it actually going to be a better move in this particular situation? I'm not really sure, but I'm going to test it out. I'm going to learn this over Leer since it is technically super effective against the ghosts. We can see that while we have a very nice 69 in attack, we only have 48 in special attack, so it might not hit our hard enough to really matter, but we may as well test it out. So with that, let's get into our first attempt against Morty, leading off, of course, against his Ghastly. Let's just see how much damage Pursuit does here. It does not one-shot the Ghastly, so we end up having to use 2 moves just to knock out that Pokemon, whereas Peck, I'm pretty sure, would have one-shot that Pokemon. So yeah, I think learning Pursuit is probably a mistake with this Pokemon. Even though it's available, the lack of good special is the real issue here. With that being said, Peck also did not one-shot the Ghastly, so it was able to use Curse against me. So it might be a situation where, while yes, Peck is still stronger, it's dealing more damage than we did with Pursuit, you're not actually gaining that much of an advantage by going for Peck. This is going to be a 3-hit or maybe even a 4-hit KO on the Gengar. We do manage to get the 3-hit range, but now we just have no way to survive against the final Haunter. We did about half damage there though, so really this could be a spot where a berry is the solution. I choose the berry over the mint berry because technically Gengar has a pretty decent chance to just miss with Hypnosis, and if we get that level of luck, we may be able to get through here. I also just figure that we're probably going to get cursed at some point in the fight, so it's better to at least have that little bit of healing that might allow us to survive an extra turn. Here we get a critical hit on the first Ghastly, so we do manage to one-shot it. We're going to get a 2-hit range on Haunter, and it does not go Curse on us. This might be the one. It tried to go Hypnosis instead. We get the first Hypnosis miss and second Hypnosis miss from Gengar, so we're to the final Haunter on full health. It just goes Spite, and then we can knock it out. So I think there are a couple of good ways to get through. I don't think the Mint Berry is the way to go though. I think you want a healing item with this Pokemon, and even then, it's not going to be great. You're gonna take a few attempts to get through, but Fearow does get the job done. So now we need to go and check in on the Johto flying normal types, starting with our Noctowl. I'm very interested to see how this Pokemon goes. Now, of course, the big difference with Noctowl is that it has Hypnosis and Nightmare itself, but it's not quite as fast as Pidgeot and Fearow were, so it's probably not gonna outspeed everything, but if it can manage to land asleep, it can do its own chip damage, and that might be what it needs. We also might need to go Quick Claw strats here in certain spots. This is also a Pokemon with better special attack, so a move like Hidden Power Dark could actually be much more reliable in the hands of a Noctowl. And even with Paralysis, we managed to get through all the Kimono Girls on the first attempt, so we can simply move on now to rival number 3. And I'm gonna just throw the Quick Claw on here because I think it's gonna be our best strategy against that first Haunter. And then the question is, do we learn a new move here? Like, we could learn Mud Slap for the Magnemite here. We could really try to go a lot of different ways, but I think it all comes down to just getting through that first Pokemon without being cursed. But actually, we are in a speed tie here against the Haunter, so we managed to land Hypnosis turn 1 and Nightmare turn 2, and if it just stays asleep, we should be able to peck this Pokemon down. Sure enough, we managed to get through. Magnemite's out next. It is slower, so I'm going Hypnosis into Nightmare, and we just really want this Pokemon to stay asleep. I'm just going to tackle to do a little bit of chip damage while it is asleep, just to hopefully get that Nightmare to take it down faster. We get through. Zubat's out next. We're still faster, so I'm going to go for the Hypnosis into Nightmare and then start pecking this Pokemon down. I choose Peck just because it's 100% accurate here, and that leads to Croconaw, which is also slower than Noctowl, so we can simply put it to sleep, Nightmare it, and we continue our strategy of just pecking this Pokemon down. So while it's not super fast, Noctowl is fast enough in order to get that speed tie against the Haunter, and that's all it really needs to get through rival number 3. Sleep remains completely overpowered, especially the Sleep plus Nightmare. Might need to be banned after this series because it's just way too OP. Still, with that, we will now move on into the gym, where we should be able to make pretty quick work of these opponents, but let's just see. This is our first flying type that does not one-shot Ghastlies with Peck though, so we're gonna actually take damage as we we go through these gym fights. Granted, we also haven't been to the lighthouse to take any additional battles at this point, so technically we might be still at least kind of close to the other fully evolved birdies. So now we could learn Reflect. The question is there a move that we want to forget to get this move? And honestly, I think the answer might be yes, because we're going to have to take on Chuck in the next section, and fighting type moves are going to be neutrally effective against us. And we're going to probably learn Fly in that section if I had to guess. So I honestly think forgetting Tackle right now in exchange for learning Reflect is actually a reasonable strategy, and we can always replace it with another move later on. I mean, we've still got things like Mud Slap, Swift is still available as an upgrade, and eventually we learn moves like Takedown and Confusion via level up. Couple that with getting Fly, I think that could actually be a reasonable strategy. So with that, it's time to take on Morty, currently at level 25. If we really get desperate, we can go take Olivine battles to get an additional level, but let's just see how this goes. So first up, we have the Ghastly that is slower than us, and since I already know I'm not going to one-shot here, I was going to try to put this Pokemon to sleep. We missed the Hypnosis, so much for that strategy. And we can see that the Haunter out next is a 3-hit KO, and it puts us to sleep, so we're just going to lose the first attempt. Still, I think this comes down mostly to sleep luck, so let's just see how it goes. This time we managed to put the first Ghastly to sleep. I can go Peck, and Peck again to knock that Pokemon out. Hunter's out next. We are faster, so we put it to sleep. I'm going to Nightmare this one because I think with Peck being a 3-hit KO, it just kind of makes more sense. We get the range to knock that Pokemon out. Gengar's out next. I think it's going to go Hypnosis on me, so I'm just going to do the same here. We land our Hypnosis. Remember, we do not have any reduction to our accuracy. It's 60%, whereas the Gengar has like a 25% chance to miss with Hypnosis. Here, we managed to get it to sleep and Nightmared, and now we're pecking this Pokemon down, and it never wakes up, so we managed to get through. We're to the final Haunter, which does not know any damaging moves here. I'm still going to put it to sleep and just go into Peck. It's going to be a 3-hit KO to knock this Pokemon out. I don't think it really makes any difference. It's not like it was going to be able to knock us out. We were just running low on Peck PP. So just like that, we do manage to get through Morty with Noctowl, and we are able to move on in the game. So that brings us to our last normal flying type, of course, which is Togetic. This Pokemon knows Rollout, Charm, Sweet Kiss, and Metronome, and we're still holding the Goldberry, so I think we have a lot of advantages here. Still, it remains to be seen how good or bad this Pokemon actually is, so let's test it out. Now, the real question is just if Rollout is enough. As we come into the final Kimono Girl here, we're going to, of course, go for Rollout on the Jolteon. It's going to build up, I think, just enough to knock this Pokemon out. Sure enough, we get through and get to level 23 with Togetic. So now it's just time to see if this moveset is by chance enough to get through the rival. Our big disadvantage compared to the other normal flying types is that we are much slower. We've only got 37 speed here, so that's nowhere near enough to speed tie against the first Haunter. So I think this is a spot where giving the Quick Claw is our best bet. And honestly, we're probably trying to build up Rollout enough to knock our opponents out. So here, I'm just going to go for the Rollout strat right away. We knock out the Haunter, out next comes Magnemite, and we're not going to do enough damage to knock this Pokemon out, and we get confused, so that's pretty much all she wrote for the first one. But let's try this one again. Of course, the really big thing here is that we just need to not miss with our Rollouts. Here we get Sonic Boom from the Magnemite, but that allows us to knock that Pokemon out. Zubat comes out next, and it gets one shot, so that leaves only Croconaw. We're going to go Sweet Kiss to confuse this Pokemon, and then I think Metronome to try to get a strong move. We actually got a strong electric type move, but it just wasn't enough to knock the Pokemon out. So instead of the Quick Claw, this might be a spot where that Goldberry is actually the way to go, because if we can heal a decent enough amount of damage, we might just be able to get through here. Of course, we have to not miss with any rollouts. So this time we managed to get through Magnemite. We're on to the Zubat, which we one-shot, and now against Croconaw, I missed the first rollout. And of course, that means that there's no way we're going to get through there, so unfortunately, it looks like Togetic just isn't really able to make this fight work. So the first thing that I'm going to do, of course, is go and take the Lighthouse battles, but we should also really consider some moveset upgrades. a move like Headbutt could possibly be more consistent there at the end, and even a move like Hidden Power Dark could be pretty good here, given that our special attack is significantly higher than our physical attack stat. Now, as a fast level up Pokemon, we actually gain 1 less level by going to Olivine. We only get to level 24, so we did not reach a damage rounding threshold, which could be kind of important here. So while we are all around a little bit stronger, I'm not sure that it's going to make enough of a difference for us to actually get through the rival at this point, but let's test it out and see. So I'm still going to set up rollout on the first Haunter. Before, this was between a 2 and 3 hit KO on the Haunter depending on ranges. Here it might just be a pure 2 hit KO. We actually get a level up here and learn Encore with Togetic. I'm not sure if this move is really useful. I mean, yes, we could force an opponent to just keep using the same move, but I'm not sure that it's actually a consistent enough strategy that we would want to go for that. I don't know. Tell me in the comments if I'm making a mistake or if there's somewhere where I really would want that. But for now, we'll simply move on in this fight. We heal up here on the Magnemite and then miss the rollout. So that's pretty much all she wrote for this one, because we're simply not going to be able to knock it out after we miss a rollout. We have to hit every single rollout up through that Magnemite at the very least. So this time we do get through Magnemite finally. We get to knock out the Zubat, of course, and now it's just a matter of how we do against Croconaw. I'm just going to go for the rollout here. It goes Water Gun, and we're simply getting knocked out. So the question really is, would we be doing enough damage with something like, say, Headbutt in order to get through this fight once we get to the Croconaw? For now, I'm going to replace Sweet Kiss with Headbutt. I think Charm could have some really good utility in certain spots, and Metronome at least gives us a flyer for certain opponents. So I think that for getting Sweet Kiss for Headbutt is the way to go. So we once again knock out the Magnemite. This time we didn't yet use the Goldberry, and we get a one-shot the Zubat. So we have the Goldberry all the way to the final Croconaw. Now Headbutt does decent damage. This looks to be a 3-hit KO. We get a heal with the Goldberry right there. And since we're faster and we get the flinch, we actually managed to get through the rival at this point. It's really inconsistent. You're basically banking on hitting all of the rollouts, which, I mean, it's 90% accurate. You should hit all of the rollouts most of the time, but then you still need to heal with a Goldberry in order to make that one even somewhat reasonable. I think that with the Hidden Power Dark, it would have been a little bit better, just given our stats, but hey, we managed to get through, so let's make our way into Morty's gym. And here I think our strategy revolves entirely around rollout. And honestly, we just want a Mint Berry on so that we have a way to wake up if we do get put to sleep by hypnosis. And I think if we just build up enough rollout, we will get through this fight. Let's test it out. So first up on the Ghastly, rollout will not one-shot here. I expect it to use Curse, but we'll knock it out the next turn. Haunter's out next. It misses hypnosis and we one-shot it. Gengar comes out. It does hit hypnosis, but we wake up thanks to the Mint Berry and knock it out with rollout as well. Now the Haunter doesn't have any good moves and rollout simply finishes the job. So we beat Morty on the first attempt after having a very random rival number 3 fight because rollout is simply too much for his Pokemon. I think just about any rollout user can come in here to Morty, basically just slap on a Mint Berry and you're good to go as long as you don't miss any of them. Still, that does it for all of the fully evolved flying normal Pokemon. Now we need to check in on the unevolved forms of Pidgeot. We still have Pidgeotto and Pidgey. Pidgey had to go max power return in the last section, and we'll just have to see if it actually manages to get through here. With that being said, first up though, we have Pidgeotto, which knows the same moveset that we just had previously with Pidgeot. We've got Gust, Sand Attack, Mud Slap, and Quick Attack. So we do have at least a couple options for TMs to go to. We could use a max power return if we just need to deal more damage to the Pokemon after Rival 3's Haunter. Hidden Power Dark is technically available, though our special attack stat isn't anything to write home about. And Swift could be a non-broken move upgrade if we just need a little extra power somewhere. Still, I expect this Pokemon to need all the battles, so let's just get them done before we go and take on the rival. Now, of course, the one advantage of the Pidgey line is the medium slow level up group and their good speed. So we should be able to outspeed a lot of opponents. It's just a matter if we can deal enough damage. As we come into the final Kimono Girl with her Jolteon, of course, we're going for the Mud Slap strat here, hoping to get some misses. We get no misses and simply lose the fight. In the next attempt though, we're getting much better accuracy luck. Still, it's a 4-hit KO with Mud Slap to get through that Pokemon as we get to level 24. But like I said, we know we need more battles than this, so I'm going to go straight to Olivine. Let's take on the Lighthouse. So with all of the available levels, I'm ready to come into the rival number 3 fight. Let's just see how this goes with Pidgeotto. We are of course leading off with Gust on the first Haunter. It does about half. We do manage to get the KO there. Next, we're going Mud Slap on the Magnemite. It's going to be a 2-hitter, though we do manage to get through with no additional damage taken. Gust now on the Zubat is going to be a 2-hit KO. As we get to level 26 and Croconaw comes out, I'm going to just stick with Gust. It just doesn't do enough damage, so we simply go down. So I think there are a couple things that we can look at immediately. One is to add on Swift to our moveset, and I'm going to learn this over Sand Attack. Quick Attack could still be useful in a case where an opponent has just a little HP left and we need to hit first for some reason, so I'm just going to keep it for now. We'll probably forget that move later, but right now Sand Attack and Mud Slap are mostly redundant. So let's just see with a slightly stronger move if maybe we do enough damage to get through that final Croconaw. It also does look like a critical hit Gust would one-shot there against the very first Haunter, and that might be all the luck that we actually need. So this time we do get Cursed, but we get a nice miss from the Magnemite. So now Swift is not quite one-shotting on the Zubat. The Pink Bow might make a difference here though. On the Croconaw itself, we now appear to have a 3-hit KO with Swift. So again, a single critical hit would knock this Pokemon out. So I think a critical hit on the Haunter or a critical hit on the Croconaw will be enough to win this fight, provided we get decent accuracy luck on that Magnemite. So let's just see what the Pink Bow does for us here. Obviously, there's no change here against Haunter. It goes Spite this time though, which does allow us to knock it out without taking any damage whatsoever. Now we get a Supersonic Miss from Magnemite. We get to knock that Pokemon out. Swift with the Pink Bow still does not get the one-hitter on the Zubat. It's probably a range there, but we do manage to knock that Pokemon out. And now we can simply go Swift on the final Croconaw. And without Curse, this is clearly nice and easy. Still, that's not going to be a consistent way to get through this fight. I think that was insanely lucky to get Spite the first turn. I really want to find a strategy that gets us through even when we get Cursed. So once again, we get good accuracy luck on the Magnemite. Swift this time does get the one-hitter, but with a crit on the Zubat. Still, that's one less turn of taking curse damage. We have 60 HP going to the Croconaw, and here this is going to be a 3-hit KO with Swift, but we managed to survive and knock that Croconaw out. So clearly there are 3 Pokemon where we could get a critical hit. I mean, heck, we could even critical hit with Mud Slap to one-shot the Magnemite. So really, you just need a critical hit somewhere in the battle in order to get through with the Pidgeotto. That is, of course, with a max DV's Pidgeotto though, so your mileage will vary if you're running a standard Pidgeotto that isn't quite this strong. But with that, let's get into Morty's gym and see how we do with our Gust strategies. Unlike Noctowl, we actually deal enough damage to get through all of the randos nice and easy. Everything's a 1 or 2 hit KO. So now it's just time for Morty himself. Let's see how it goes. So first off, against his Ghastly, I'm going to go Gust. We still get the 1-hit KO there. Haunter's out next. We can go Gust, and this is going to be a 2-hitter, but he goes Curse. Now against the Gengar, I'm going to switch to the Mud Slap to try to lower his accuracy with the Hypnosis. We are cursed, but we're still getting a nice 3-hit KO range here, and we knocked that Pokemon out. We were in a speed tie as well, so we didn't actually need to dodge that many Hypnosises. And now on the final Haunter, it's just going to be an easy 2-hit KO with Gust in order to knock that Pokemon out. So we beat Morty on the first attempt, and I feel pretty reasonable about that. Even with Curse, we just have to avoid getting hit by the Hypnosis, and given that we're in a speed tie and we have Mud Slap, that feels pretty reasonable to simply Mud Slap him once and then hope not to get Hypnosis the rest of the time. We could have even thrown on a Mint Berry to be even more consistent there, but good enough. Pidgeotto does manage to get through, even though it doesn't have a lot of options here. Doesn't have to go any broken, unreasonable strategies, but now we have to check in on Pidgey, the weakest of the line, and it might just be the spot where things break down. And of course, Pidgey is rocking the max power return here. It's not like this move is so strong that it's just going to one-shot everything though. It's still in like 2-hit ranges here on the Kimono Girls, in spite of the fact that we have quite a few levels on them. So again, I expect to need to get all the levels to have any shot against the rival, so let's simply get the job done. Still, if nothing else, max power return should give us much better ranges on the Pokemon after the Rival 3's Haunter. I just don't think we're going to have any shot to like one-hit the Haunter even with a critical hit here, so we're really going to be hoping for better ranges against everything else. But now with the Lighthouse done, it's time to get to Rival 3 with Pidgey and just see how this fight goes. Starting off, of course, with his Haunter, we're just going to go for Gust here. He goes Curse first, and we can see Gust does not knock it out after Curse. We are in a speed tie there, so theoretically we could hit first and then get a better range, but we ended up taking 1 turn of Curse damage. Here we will get a 2-hit range on the Magnemite. We're down to 2 HP after the Thunder Shock. Against Zubat, let's just see what Return does. It does get the 1-hit KO, and we are faster than Croconaw, and Return is a 2-hit KO there, so a critical hit could get the job done. This is another situation where we basically just need a crit in the right situations, or maybe even just to outspeed turn 1 against this Haunter, just in an effort to avoid taking that extra Curse damage. This time we get through the Magnemite without getting hit by Thunder Shock, but we are confused, and the confusion leads to us going down against the Zubat. This time we win the turn 1 speed tie though, and turn 2, so we get through the first Haunter without any Curse damage. Now we get a critical hit on the Magnemite, which is just insane luck. Return is going to completely destroy Zubat, and then we can go for the Return again on Croconaw, and just like that, we managed to win. That felt incredibly lucky though, so I'm going to try this one more time, just trying to get to turn 1 where we outspeed, we win the speed flip against the Haunter, but still get cursed. I just want to see how the ranges look after that kind of luck. So here we win the turn 1 speed tie. He uses Curse and survives, but then we knock him out. Magnemite's out next. We go Mud Slap. We get Supersonic from the Magnemite, but then we knock it out the next turn. Zubat is out next. We snap out of confusion and one-shot it with Return. Croconaw finally gets the critical hit, but it wasn't going to knock us out in a single turn, nor was Curse going to take us out. So yeah, I think it's actually reasonable that we get through here with the max power return. That still puts us in the unreasonable TMs category, because I still don't think max power return is reasonable. If you look at all the Pokemon that are legitimately here, they're nowhere near max power, max friendship at this point in the game. That's something that I think is more reasonable as we get deeper and deeper into the challenge, but right now it just doesn't really make any sense. Still, we managed to get through, so Pidgey is moving on to Morty's gym, and we're just gonna have to see how this goes. I mean, we are at a pretty high level relative to our opponents, so maybe Gust is enough. So after taking down all the randos, we have made it to Morty without any issues with Pidgey. It just comes down to this fight. I think this is a good spot to put on that Mint Berry, just because we're not really gonna be able to outspeed against the Gengar, so at least being able to survive one turn while it uses a Hypnosis on us is probably a good way to go. So let's try this first against the Ghastly. We go Gust. It's not a one-hitter, it is a 2-hit KO. Haunter is out next. Gust is going to be a 2-hitter on this Pokemon as well, but it misses Hypnosis, which is its standard play when we are there with this normal type Pokemon. Gengar does hit the first Hypnosis, but we managed to recover thanks thanks to the Mint Berry. And now we're going for Gust. This is a 4-hit KO, however, on the Gengar, meaning we simply go down. So we could get a critical hit on one of the first 2 Pokemon to get a slightly better range, but let's see if that actually gives us any chance to get through this. Now, the real thing to look at here is that basically this first Ghastly is only going to use Curse on us. Like, yes, it could go Bean Look, but that's not really something that we're banking on here. It's obviously never going to go for Lick because that would do 0 damage, and Spite because we haven't used a move yet. I think it's basically going to avoid that move. Mean Look, funny enough, I'm actually using a certain patch that is available from Scott's Thoughts right now on these runs, and that patch includes making it so that these opponents will not use Mean Look against me. And what that means is that we can't actually sit here and fish for that kind of luck. So instead, we've got to actually be able to win here with our moves as they are. Now, I'm using this patch because it also makes spinners look away from me, which has saved me a ton of time. But it's one of those things where if you were doing this on a standard ROM, you would actually be getting slightly better luck than me here because you would be getting hit with a Mean Look some percentage of the time by Morty. I believe his standard is still to go for Curse though on turn 1. So really we could get cursed by either of the first 2 Pokemon on this team. And in that case, we're basically ending up in this same situation. It's just that the Ghastly is more likely to go for the Curse, whereas the Haunter could go for Curse or Hypnosis. So if we could get the critical hit on the first Ghastly, that's actually the best case scenario for us. Still, we have yet to land a single critical hit in a lot of attempts. So this time we get Spite from Ghastly, which allows me to basically mimic as if I had gotten a critical hit. So let's just see how this fight goes from here. Here instead the Haunter goes Curse, so we are cursed now, but with 1 fewer turn of taking Curse damage. And now we get put to sleep by Gengar, but we wake up, we take Curse damage, it misses Hypnosis, it hits Hypnosis after that though, and just like that we're gonna get knocked out by a Dream Eater. We would need kind of like perfect god tier luck to get through this fight. Like if we got multiple critical hits, we could knock out the first 2 Pokemon, no Curse, still have the Mint Berry on, then we're still banking on getting the misses from the Hypnosis so that we can manage to knock out the Gengar, and then sure, I think we could actually make our way through the final Haunter, but that's a lot to ask for a Pokemon. So the only strategy that I think is left to us is at least to test out how we would do with Hidden Power Dark. Since it is a 70 base power move here, it's probably stronger even with our lower special attack stat. So let's just see how that actually goes. So I have just replaced the move Quick Attack with Hidden Power, and let's just see how much damage this move does in this fight. So first up against the Ghastly, I'm just going to move this move into the top slot. Hidden Power Dark does get the 1-hit KO against Ghastly. Now against Haunter, we are faster, we go for Hidden Power. We don't get the 1-hit KO, but it goes for Hypnosis and misses. So we are doing better here. We managed to knock that Pokemon out. Gengar's out next. It hits the first Hypnosis, but we have the Mint Berry, and now Hidden Power seems to be a 3-hit KO on this Pokemon. So we are going to need some accuracy luck. We probably want to go for 1 Mud Slap here, but if we can get that, we might just be able to win now. Let's just try this one again. So Hidden Power on Ghastly again gets the 1-hit KO. Hidden Power on the Haunter. This time it goes Curse, which I think is at least a 50-50 shot there. We're going to go Mud Slap on the Gengar to try to reduce its accuracy and then go into the Hidden Power. It manages to hit the second Hypnosis, but we managed to wake up thanks to the Mint Berry, and a critical hit at least was enough to knock out that Gengar. So we have made it to the final Pokemon, and we get to learn Wing Attack, which is a nice upgrade on Gust. So I'm simply going to learn that move, and let's just see. I think Wing Attack is technically stronger here, so I'm not sure which is actually better, Hidden Power or Wing Attack. Let's just see what the range looks like. Hidden Power does over half, so it's definitely guaranteed to knock this Pokemon out, but Wing Attack then gets the job done. So what is pretty clear here is that Hidden Power Dark is enough to manage to get Pidgey through there. It's not super great, but it is enough to one-shot the first Ghastly, and then we're really kind of fishing for like that 50-50 chance of getting Hypnosis from the Haunter, but even with Curse, we were able to make it happen. Mint Berry is super important, but this remains a Pokemon that is firmly in the unreasonable TMs category. I've mentioned it before why I consider Hidden Power Dark to be unreasonable. We're also running Max Friendship Return when you'd be running around for a very long time to max out your friendship, especially because you couldn't just grind battles in order to get victories and levels in order to do it. So yeah. Pidgey does manage to get through, and I imagine a lot of Pokemon are going to be like that, but that was tough. So we now have our first Pokemon that is in that pass with unreasonable overpowered TMs, but everything else did manage to find a way through. So that gives me a little bit of hope, and now we can move on to our normal types today. We've got Furret and Raticate. I think these two Pokemon have enough going that they should be able to get through, but let's see if that's actually the case. So that, of course, brings us to our Raticate that has Hyper Fang, Tail Whip, Mud Slap, and Quick Attack on the moveset currently. Pursuit is not until level 30, so we're not going to get anywhere close to learning that via level up. So really, the only stronger move against Ghosts that we could get here without going into our unreasonable TMs category would be to get Dig. Dig, of course, would at least be a stronger ground type move that in theory could help. The problem is with Curse on, it's going to greatly increase the number of turns that we get hit by Curse, so I'm not sure if it's the best strategy or not. For now though, let's just go in, take on the Kimono Girls, and make our way to Rival number 3. And I'm gonna just try Rival 3 one time with my current moveset. We of course are a physical attacker here and reasonably fast, so maybe Mud Slap is good enough to get through the first Haunter, and then maybe we can just get through with Hyper Fang the rest of the way. Let's find out. So first up on the Haunter, of course we are faster. I'm just gonna go Mud Slap. This looks to be a 4-hit KO. Of course, after it curses, we'll knock it out the next turn. We get to level 22 as Magnemite comes out. I'm going to stick with the Mud Slap. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. It misses Supersonic, so that's perfectly fine. Out next comes the Zubat. Let's just go Hyper Fang. We get the 1-hit KO on that Pokemon. And now we've got the Bayleaf. Hyper Fang doesn't quite do half, it goes Reflect, so we're gonna need like a critical hit to knock this Pokemon out here, I think. We just don't quite get the range. So this makes me think that all we really need to do is go to Olivine to get a couple extra levels, since we will get to level 23 as a medium fast level up Pokemon, and with that extra damage rounding threshold plus a couple more levels, we should be able to get through that fight. So now back at level 23, let's just see how this fight goes. Of course, against the Haunter, the strategy doesn't change. We just have to go Mud Slap here. It's gonna go Curse, and then we're gonna knock it out on the next turn. Magnemite, we're gonna stick with the same strategy of simply going Mud Slap, hoping that it misses. We didn't get the miss this time, unfortunately. Zubat should still be just a Hyper Fang, and then Bayleaf, really we need a critical hit or for it to not use the Reflect. We did about half with that first one, so we knock it out just like that. When it goes for Poison Powder, even if the Poison Powder had hit, it wouldn't have mattered, and based on the range in the last battle, I don't think it would be able to one-shot us with a Razor Leaf, at least not without a critical hit. So that feels reasonably consistent there. It's probably not perfectly consistent, but it is possible to get through. Now, however, we have to deal with the gym, where we've got to go in basically using either Mud Slap or using Dig in order to get through Morty's Pokemon. And honestly, the biggest issue might be PP, because we don't have that much PP in Mud Slap, and it's such a weak move, so I'm actually going to go ahead and learn the Dig TM here. So here now I've added Dig over Quick Attack because we're plenty fast. I don't think we need Quick Attack in a lot of situations here. I mean, it would help if we were paralyzed, but it's not a super strong move, so I think we can get by like this. And now let's just see if the Dig strats are enough. Here, of course, that means that opponents could curse us while we're underground, but we're basically going to one-shot with Dig because it is 3 times stronger than Mud Slap. So just like that, we easily get to Morty. I think this might be a spot for a Mint Berry, but let's just see. We're already faster than Gengar here, so possibly we can simply get through by just one-shotting everything with Dig. Let's see. So first, against the Ghastly, I'm just going to put Dig in the top slot, and let's see how much damage we do. And here is apparently something that I didn't realize. I thought that Curse would still hit me while I was underground, but in fact Curse fails while I'm underground. So Dig is a solution for getting through these ghosts and avoiding Curse. For some reason I thought out because Curse hits themselves first and they lose half their health, that would mean that the target is themselves, which means they can never miss. But in fact, we can take advantage here and actually use Dig in order to get through this fight. Now, of course, a Mint Berry would have stopped us from getting Hypnosis here. Gengar is not a one-hit KO, but now that I know that, this should be an absolute cakewalk, because now we just give the Mint Berry just in case, and this should be a guaranteed victory if my assumption is correct. So back again, we will simply once again put Dig in the top slot, and Curse fails, so we simply knock that Pokemon out. Haunter's out next. Dig should again be a one-hit KO. Next, we've got the Gengar. We are faster, so Dig turn 1, and we don't even care about the Hypnosis because of the Mint Berry, but we knock it out without any Hypnosis this time. And now Dig, and we get the one-shot on the final Haunter. So Dig makes that fight incredibly easy. And yeah, I kind of made an assumption that wasn't true. And with that, I think I know my strategy for an awful lot of Pokemon going forward. But with Raticate getting through, let's check in on Furret and see if it can just use the same strategy. So with Furret, I don't think there's any need to mess around. Let's just go for the same strategy of Dig over Quick Attack, and that way we can keep our other moves. We've got Swift, we've got Mud Slap, we've got Defense Curl, which I want to keep for later. But yeah, I think this strategy is going to be enough to get us through this section without too much difficulty. Let's find out. And with Furret, our stats are pretty close to the same as what we had with the Raticate, but I'm not going to go to Olivine right now because I think Dig is going to be enough to simply get us through the rival. Let's see how this fight actually goes though. So first off, against Haunter, I'm going to go Dig, and it misses Curse. We do not get the one-hitter though. This is still a two-hit KO on that Pokemon. Out comes the Magnemite. I'm still going to stick with Dig here. We get the one-hit KO thanks to Dig, of course. Swift is the play for the Zubat, and a critical hit does one-shot. Now it's just about this Bayleaf. It appears to be a three-hit KO here. It goes Razor Leaf turn 1, and the Curse gets us in a range to be knocked out. So we would need a critical hit on the Bayleaf at the very least, and that's still pretty close. I'm not sure if we'd actually get the range or not. So I guess the strategy still is to go to the Lighthouse and try to gain extra levels, since maybe that will make Dig be a one-hit KO. We can't get something like Soft Sand in these runs because it's trapped behind optional trainers. We would need Surf anyway, but there's simply no way for us to power up our ground type moves in this one. So after gaining a couple of levels there in Olivine, let's come back and try the Dig strategy again against the rival. So here we'll simply Dig turn 1, and now we still just barely don't get the one-hit KO. So unfortunately, we're going to be stuck using Dig again and taking Curse damage against the Magnemite. Against the Zubat, we can still go for Swift, but it is not a one-hit KO. It's actually a two-hit KO without a crit. And now against the Bayleaf, we are going to need a crit here to have any shot, and we simply do not get it. So with that being said, we can upgrade our moves a little bit. And I'm going to start with a move that I basically never learn in solo runs, but is actually viable here. As long as we're not using max power return, Strength is an actual option for our Pokemon. We can slap this move on over Swift because it's not like we're really that worried about accuracy strats here. And Strength is an immediate power up because it's an 80 base power move. The other thing that I think we can actually think about adding on here is, of course, Rollout, a move that we've seen used plenty in these runs and that will stack nicely with that defense curl that we have on our moveset already. So I'm simply going to forget Mud Slap. We've got Dig, which is a stronger ground type move anyway, and learn Rollout instead. Let's just see with these two new moves how we actually do in this fight. So here in this case, what I can do and still just stick with the Dig on the first Haunter. We still don't get the range, it's so close. But now against the Magnemite, we'll simply go Dig again, and that will get a one-hit KO. Now let's see what Strength does here. Strength is a one-hit KO on that Zubat. And now we stick with Strength in this one. We did about half to the Bayleaf. It goes Poison Powder, and that gives us the win. So yeah, really, I mean, I think we could have even looked at berries and things like that, but the simple solution is just to give yourself some stronger moves that make really good sense for this Pokemon. And now between Dig and Rollout, we should be perfectly fine here in the gym. So we have made it to Morty, and the strategy here is going to be just a little bit different because we know Defense Curl and Rollout. So I think the best strategy is actually to go Defense Curl on the first Ghastly, let it curse, who cares, and then just roll out to knock that Pokemon out. Haunter, we can just roll out and get the one-hit KO. Gengar, another easy one-hit KO, and the final Haunter comes out and it goes down immediately. So with Furret, because we have access to Defense Curl rollout, like we don't even need to worry about berries or anything. We have a basically consistent fight there. I mean, yes, a 10% chance to miss with rollout, but you're gonna hit it most of the time. Like when we talk about 90% accuracy, that was like Gen 1 Blizzard. Everybody used it because it's only a 10% chance to miss. And Furret shows that this strategy can be really, really overpowered. And honestly, I think this Pokemon's gonna do pretty well for the foreseeable future. The Defense Curl rollout strat should be good against Price. Dig, I think, is going to be fine for getting through Whitney, but even if not, we get Fire Punch as a TM, and we've got things like Thunder Punch if we need it for Chuck's Poliwrath. So yeah, this Pokemon should be pretty good for a while. We'll just have to see how it goes. But for now, Furret gets through. So with 2 more Pokemon joining the pass column, we're basically saying anything evolved gets through here. But now we need to check in on some Pokemon that really don't have great options in this section. We have a bunch of poison types. We have a poison type in Arbok, and I'm also going to check in on that member pick Vileplume. Let's see how these Pokemon go. Vileplume got through the last sections because we added Acid to its moveset, and Acid was the key for getting it through the Rival to Bugsy section. Here, we'll have to see if that continues to actually be useful, or does it prove to be a detriment that it only has grass and poison type moves. First up though, Arbok, let's just see how it goes. So one thing about Arbok is that it already knows Bite and it has Dig. So 2 of the moves that we've already seen be pretty good in this section of the game. Obviously with Bite, there would be no reason then to go and learn Hidden Power Dark. That's only slightly more powerful. So it's much more likely that we would end up replacing Poison Sting in this section with a move that deals more damage. Headbutt and Strength are the real candidate moves, and then we could get up to Glare at level 25. It's only going to be in time for Morty, but still that could be a strategy as we continue on. So now we're going to go straight to the Rival after beating the Kimono Girls because we should be faster already than the Haunter. Maybe flinches from Bite is all we actually need, which is a reasonable enough strategy, just going for the Bite flinch. But let's see how it actually works. So here against the Haunter, of course, I just go Bite and we get the flinch turn 1. I'm going to go Dig after that because now it really can't do anything. We'll just knock it out this turn. Magnemite comes out next. Dig is the obvious solution as we get a 1-hit KO. Next, Zubat. We're going into Bite. This is going to be a 3-hitter on this Pokemon and we get confused, but Bite does take it down without taking any damage. And now we have made it to the final Croconaw where I'm going to go Poison Sting just because I think if I poison this Pokemon, I should have even better chances of getting through it. And now we'll go into Bite to try to get flinches. And since there's no curse to worry about, we easily get through the Rival on the first attempt. So unlike the last couple Pokemon, we don't even have to go to Olivine with Arbok to try to gain any additional levels. We can come straight to the Rival and he really doesn't even look that hard, provided we get that turn 1 flinch. And now the gym I think is all just about Dig strats. Of course we have Bite, but I think Dig is the stronger move in every case, so we're pretty much just going to spam that. So I am going to learn Glare here and I'm going to forget Leer. I don't really think I need Leer that much going forward. We get Screech later on if we want a defense lowering move, but I think Glare is much more important because it gives us a way to paralyze opponents, and we could take advantage of some Paraflinch strats with this Pokemon between Headbutt and Bite. But just like that, with no difficulty, we make it to Morty, so let's just see how it goes with our Arbok. Morty, of course, leads off with the Ghastly, where we'll just go Dig and get the easy 1-hit KO. Out next is Haunter. We'll go for more of the same, and we get the 1-hitter on that Pokemon as well. Out next is Gengar. I'm actually going to try to use Glare because we are slower here, and of course Dream Eater will completely destroy us. So I think this strategy is just to give the Mint Berry here, then we'll be able to paralyze the Gengar and we should be faster, at which point I think we have a pretty smooth fight, but let's just see. So Morty, round 2, we're going to go Dig on the first Ghastly. We get the 1-hit KO. Haunter is out next. Yet again, Dig, 1-shot, and then Gengar comes out. Here's where we wake up using the Mint Berry and we go Glare, and Glare does not affect Ghost Pokemon. I did not realize that Glare as a normal type move couldn't affect them. So that changes things a lot. Now I just have to to go for Dig, and if I had known that, I would have gone Dig the turn that he hit me with Hypnosis, but still, we knock out the Gengar this time, thanks to the Mint Berry, and then Dig on the final Haunter guarantees the win. So yeah, this is where you can tell that I've clearly spent most of my time playing Gen 1 when I don't even think about the fact that Glare could miss on a Ghost. Oh man, Gen 2 noob right here, confirmed. But yeah, still we managed to get through just fine. Mint Berry strat for Arbok and then just spam Dig and you're basically good to go. You just need one of two misses from the Gengar with the Hypnosis and the Mint Berry on, and realistically you could actually go down to Olivine and just gain one additional level here. You would actually be faster than the Gengar at that point. We can see after we leveled up we were at 65 speed, so basically there are a couple ways to get through, but Arbok is perfectly fine getting through this section of the game. And I'm really excited for this Pokemon going forward because we'll finally have a Sludge Bomb user, and Sludge Bomb is the poison move that Gen 1 only dreamed about. If they had had that move, poison types would have actually been viable, I think, in Gen 1. So I'll be very interested to see just how much better that move makes Arbok in this generation. But with that, let's get to our Vileplume, and this is one of the Pokemon that I'm actually really nervous about. And of course, we are running this Vileplume named Erica in honor of channel member Tamonowo, who has been already supporting for 11 months on the channel, which is insane. Thank you so much for your support. We can see we still have the Gold Berry on, we have Acid, Sweet Scent, Stun Spore, and Petal Dance, and we only have Cut, Hidden Power, Dark, and Return as available TMs to try to get through this section. And there are plenty of Pokemon that resist our moves. I mean, we're just thinking about the Magnemite, for example, and it's not like our moves are going to be any good against the Haunter. So I think we're probably going to have to go Hidden Power, Dark here, but let's just see if that's the case. I don't want to jump the gun here with this Pokemon. Now, fortunately, Acid is enough to get us through the Kimono Girls without too much difficulty, so we can easily get through all those Pokemon and gain a couple levels. But honestly, I think we're going to have to go to Olivine if we're going to have any shot here. I'll test it one time against the rival just to see what it looks like, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be enough. So here, let's try the rival on the first attempt. I'm just going to come in and try to go for, I'm not sure, I guess Acid is 4 times resisted, so Petal Dance has to be the play, I think. It goes Curse, which kind of helps because it's going to give us a better range, but we still take 2 turns to knock this Pokemon out with Petal Dance. And now when Quilava comes out, we're switched to Acid, but we're confused and we get burned and we're cursed. There's just no way we're getting through that Pokemon, at least not at our current level. So yeah, we're going to have to go out and try to find a way around. I mean, we don't gain any level up moves, so there's nothing that we can really do to try to get through here other than just picking up Hidden Power, maybe learning Return over Sweet Scent. There just aren't a lot of good options. So here we did manage to get through the lighthouse with no issues. I'm going to put on a Bitter Berry in this one though. I think this might be a good strategy because the whole issue with Petal Dance is that we confuse ourselves at the end, whereas with a Bitter Berry, we'll pop out of confusion automatically. Maybe that gives us what we need to get through. Let's find out. Now, the other thing I think is that we might want to go for Stun Spore. Of course, we're slower here though, so I guess it doesn't really make that much sense. I'm simply going to take a reset on that one. So let's try this again with the Petal Dance. Of course, we get Curse turn 1. Petal Dance still does not quite get the one hitter after the Curse, so it takes 2 turns there. Quilava's out next. We're still using Petal Dance here. We are in a speed tie with Quilava at least, but Ember does way too much damage. So let's try a different strategy. Let's go ahead and throw on Hidden Power in the place of Sweet Scent. We could always relearn Sweet Scent later if we need to, but let's just see if that gives us anything. So of course, with Hidden Power now on the moveset, we have a move that can hit this Haunter for decent damage. So at least after Curse, we should be able to one-shot it. At least that's the theory. It does work out that way. Now out comes Quilava. Quilava has lower defense than special defense, and Acid is a same type move, so I'm going to go for it here. And here Acid has this Pokemon in about a 3-hit KO range. It goes for Leer there, giving us the chance to knock that Pokemon out. Now out comes Magnemite, and we again don't really have anything good. We have to go Petal Dance here, I think. And we just get knocked out by a Sonic Boom. It's not like Petal Dance is going to one-shot there as a resisted move. So yet again, we need to think of something else that we could possibly use here if we're going to have any chance of getting through. So how could we possibly get a better range on that Quilava? Well, the only possible move is, of course, the max power return. That's the only move that would give us more damage output against that Quilava. Cut won't do it because Cut is already weaker than Acid, and Acid has the same type attack bonus. So we're going to put on the max power return and let's just see what that does for us. I'm really not too confident though. So just like that, we can see we've got the maxed out return here. Let's just see if this is enough to now get us through the Quilava faster. So against the Haunter, of course, we'll go Hidden Power. That will knock that Pokemon out. Quilava's out next. We go Return, and that does have this Pokemon in a 2-hit KO range. So if we could just outspeed 2 turns, we would be able to get a much better range there on that Pokemon. Then it just comes down to the Magnemite, where Petal Dance, it's going to be a 2-hitter, but we might have a shot here. I'm going to take off the Bitter Berry now and instead give the Gold Berry, because I think this is the only way that we're going to have a decent chance here. So this time we get Lick from the Haunter, and then Hidden Power one-shots that Pokemon. We know that Lick isn't that common though, so I'm simply going to reset here. We want to see against the Curse how we do. So now with Curse, we once again get through that Pokemon just fine. We're going to go into the max power return. We win the first speed tie. We get burned again and lose the second speed tie. So really bad luck there. We get a heal up here on the Magnemite though. We can go for the Petal Dance where we know it will be a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon. We are confused, but we knock it out the next turn. And now let's see what max power return does. It is a 2-hit KO on the Zubat and we go down. So even with the Goldberry, we're basically relying on getting 2 speed flips against that Quilava to have any real shot here. Of course, if he goes Lick with the Haunter, now we're going to get through with much better health. And without a burn, we managed to knock that Pokemon out. Petal Dance will be enough to get us through Magnemite now. We take a Sonic Boom, but we just heal up. And now without burn on against this final Zubat, we do in fact get the 1-hit KO. So we would have won that previous one if we had simply not gotten burned by the Quilava, which is only a 10% chance. So I think there's actually enough here to say that with max power return and hidden power, it's possible to get through this fight with a Goldberry on, but you kind of need a lot of things to get this Pokemon to work. And now we still have to go into Morty's gym where we still don't have anything great outside of the Hidden Power Dark. We're just going to be spamming that move in order to get through, I think. And it feels bad. It feels real bad. You're going to be sitting here resetting for a Hidden Power Dark, a strong Hidden Power Dark Vileplume at the very least if you're going to get through on minimum battles. And that means playing all the way up to this point in the game and then testing out your Hidden Power to see if it's super effective or not. Really not great. And outside of that, the only other thing that was left to us would have been to use our rare candies at this point. I think even though rare candies are technically possible here, that rare candies at this point in the game are basically a death sentence, because that means the Pokemon does not have the rare candies for the League or for Red at the very end of the game. And especially for Red, I think we're really going to need the rare candies. Still here, Tamonowo, you have made it to Morty. I think this fight's going to go just fine with the Hidden Power Dark. Let's just check in on it. I'm going to give the Mint Berry just so that I can survive one Hypnosis here. So of course, against Ghastly, we just go Hidden Power and get the easy 1-hit KO. Haunter, more of the same, 1-hit KO. Gengar is out next. It misses the first Hypnosis, and a critical hit Hidden Power Dark one-shots it. And now we've made it to the final Haunter, which we outspeed and 1-hit. Now, of course, our speed is based on, again, the fact that we have max DVs and the badge boost from Whitney. Anything less than max DVs, I don't think we're outspeeding the Haunters here, and we're probably getting wrecked. But hey, we did manage to get through. Tamonowo, you're still in the challenge, but I'm a little nervous for you, man. We will get Sludge Bomb coming up. Once we can Surf, we can also technically get Solar Beam in order to have a stronger grass type move. But I think this is pretty much the set that we're going to be running for a while, outside of swapping out Acid for Sludge Bomb, because we just don't really have that much coverage outside of this and no level up moves to speak of. So yeah, I'm not super excited excited about Vileplume, but it does get through. Tamonowo, thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to support a Pokemon that has failed somewhere in the challenge so far, granted not so far in this section, but you can consider joining the channel memberships. Remember, in the next section, we are doing Chuck, Price, and Jasmine all in one section, so there's going to be a lot more challenges we get through this. For now, though, it looks like if you have Hidden Power Dark, you're basically fine for Morty. Still interesting to see that that was not very good with a fully evolved Pokemon. And with that section done, now I think it's time to look into our electric Pokemon. We of course have Raichu, but we've also got Lanturn, which should, in theory at least, improve a lot here because it's also going to get Surf. And these Pokemon might be able to get through just fine, or they might have issues with that Magnemite. We're just going to have to see, starting off with Raichu. Now, of course, Raichu was super OP up to this point because it already knows Thunderbolt, one of the best moves that this Pokemon can learn. And we've also got things like Strength, Headbutt, Rollout, and Mud Slap available on the moveset if we need them. Mud Slap could be useful against that Magnemite since we don't really have anything else good for it. And if we need, we could get some sort of like Headbutt strat in order to go for some flinches, but I think Thunderbolt's mostly going to be enough. The one shame is that we do not learn Surf, because who doesn't remember Pokemon Stadium and surfing Raichu on Lieutenant Surge's team in the Gym Leader Castle? Something that I honestly think they should have just put in the standard game from Gen 2 onward. It's just my opinion. Anyway, we're here for Rival number 3. Let's just see how he goes. I'm going to come in with my moveset as is. We're going to go Thunderbolt on the Haunter. It is not a one-hitter. It's going to be a 2-hit KO, unfortunately. Magnemite comes out next, and again, we just don't have anything good here. Like, Quick Attack does that much. We get confused, but then we can see Thunderbolt does quite a bit more, so Thunderbolt is the play here, as we do manage to knock that Pokemon out. Now we've got to deal with Bayleaf though, which again, we just don't have anything really strong against, so we easily go down. So I think we have to go over to Olivine, of course, in order to gain more levels. I also think adding on Mud Slap might be the way to go. I'm going to test the Mud Slap strat one time here, because honestly, Mud Slap and Rollout might be enough to get this done without having to do any crazy routing. Now, of course, we can simply replace Thunder Shock since it's redundant with Thunderbolt. There's no reason we need to keep that move, and we'll simply learn Rollout, and I'm just going to learn this over Tail Whip for now, and let's just see how this strategy actually goes. So in this case, I'm still going to go Thunderbolt on the Haunter since a critical hit would one-shot that Pokemon, but now when he sends out the Magnemite, let's just switch to Mud Slap, which is going to be a 2-hitter and have the accuracy drop. Granted, he still lands Supersonic in this one, which is bad luck, so I'm going to reset right there, but I think we have a chance to get through this. So this time we get the miss and we easily knock out the Magnemite after that. And from there, I think we go Rollout. Sure, it's going to have to build up damage and then we get the miss, of course. But if we didn't miss and built up damage, we might have had a chance to actually get through there. This time we get Paralysis and the Haunter is fully paralyzed. So in that case, I think we just knock it out the next turn. So now no Curse on as we use Mud Slap and get the Sonic Boom miss from the Magnemite. We managed to knock that Pokemon out. And now back to the Rollout strat as Bayleaf goes for Reflect. I think that's perfectly fine with me. We're simply going to knock that Pokemon out and we're still in Rollout for the Zubat, so we managed to get through. So Paralysis is a way to get through that fight. It's not going to be the most consistent way to get through, but hey, it works. And just like that, we can now make our way into Morty's gym, and let's just see how this goes. I think we just spam Thunderbolt until we get to Morty himself. So here we've made it to Morty with no issues, and I'm just going to come in without doing really anything. We're already faster than the Gengar, so I think if we just build up a Rollout, we win. Let's find out. So we're just going to go Rollout turn 1 and of course miss, but then we still don't quite knock out the Ghastly. We knock it out the next turn. Haunter, the next turn is a 1-hit KO. We're faster than Gengar and we get the 1-hitter, and then the final Haunter comes out and goes down just like that. So yeah, a fast Pokemon with Rollout really just has no issue against Morty himself. And honestly, if we had gone to Olivine to gain 2 more levels, we probably would have been even better against the Rival. We might have even been able to get the 1-hit KO on the Haunter. I'm not not sure. Keeping in mind this is with max DVs though, so lower DVs, yet again your mileage would vary. Still, a critical hit would have been guaranteed to knock out the Haunter. When you add in the chance that we could also get the paralysis with Thunderbolt and get it to miss a turn, which is talking like a 2.5% chance if I'm doing my math correctly in my head. I mean, we have better than the chances of a critical hit to get through that first Pokemon without getting cursed. And once we get that, we're basically good to go. But now we need to check in on Lanturn, the Pokemon that I gave a lot of shade to before, but maybe here with Surf, it's finally good. Let's find out. So of course, Lanturn had to go broken TMs in the last section by learning Thunder. So we've got Thunder, Thunder Wave, Supersonic, and Flail on the moveset currently. But let's just make our way to the Kimono Girls so that we can get access to Surf, since it's going to be one of our best moves in the entire run. Definitely more accurate than Thunder, and it's basically going to be equally effective against just about everything that we're going to face here. So yeah, let's just see if that's enough to get us through. And sure enough, we make quick work of the Kimono Girls so we can come out and get Surf. And I'm simply going to learn Surf immediately. I don't think there's any better strategy for this Pokemon. So here, I'm actually going to learn Surf over Supersonic. Supersonic is so inaccurate that while yes, we can go for paralysis confusion strats, it's really not good. We'd much rather have Flail so that if we get on low health, we at least have a fallback to go to where maybe we can deal some decent damage. So I'm just going to go with Surf like that. That gives us 3 attacking moves so that we at least have some coverage against our opponents. And with that, let's go try our hand against the rival once, and then if it's not working out, we'll make our way to Olivine and do that whole song and dance. Now, it's important to note that Stab Thunder at 180 base power effective is stronger than a super effective Hidden Power Dark. So there's no reason to even try Hidden Power Dark with this Pokemon. We'd really just want to go Thunder to get the KO on that Pokemon. So here we can paralyze the Bayleaf. Of course, we don't like the fact that we are slower here than basically everything. We can go Flail on low health, but it's clearly just not going to be enough. Now, one strategy that we can try here is a Quick Claw strategy, basically trying to outspeed against the first Haunter and just see what kind of damage we do with Thunder. If we manage to hit it, that could be the way to get through here. So here we do get the Quick Claw to activate, but it wasn't enough to one-shot the Haunter. So we are going to have to go gain more levels with this Pokemon because even our strongest move just isn't enough to get the one-hit KO. The whole issue with this Pokemon is the slow level up group. If we were at the same level as a lot of our other challengers, we would be in a position to get the one-hit KO there, I think, already on the Haunter, as long as the Quick Claw activated. We're just a little bit too under-leveled and thus a little too weak to actually get that range. And we only gain 1 level by going to Olivine to get to level 21 with these slow level up Pokemon. So there's not that much of an advantage going there. We don't get a damage rounding threshold. We do pick up a rare candy. We technically could slam 2 rare candies here to get to level 23 and thus do more damage. But let's just see if the 1 level happens to be enough. The most important factor is that we're still slower than the Haunter here, so we still need the Quick Claw to activate. Here, this time, we still don't get the one-hitter. It could be a range, but we did paralyze Haunter. Unfortunately, it was not fully paralyzed, so still nothing that we can really do there. Thunder is still our strongest move, so I guess it's what we have to do here against the Bayleaf. And this is going to be a 4-hit KO with this. Add on the fact that it knows Razor Leaf, there's no way that we're getting through with that one. So now we have to decide what to do because we really don't have that many options. As already mentioned, Hidden Power Dark doesn't really do anything for us here because it's weaker than Thunder against the Haunter. So the only move that we can really learn that does anything for us is to learn Return to have a stronger move to hit that Bayleaf with. So let's just see what Return actually looks like in this fight, just to see what kind of range we get. So here, even though he curses with the Haunter, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to move on. And here, Return, without being maxed out power at our current 144 friendship, does less than we were doing with Thunder against the Bayleaf. This looks to be like a 5-hit KO, so there's simply no way that this move is currently going to get us through. Let's try maxing out our friendship to see what kind of damage we do after that. So here, maxed out friendship Return. Let's see the damage output. Of course, against the Haunter, it really doesn't matter. We're basically going to get cursed either way, so we may as well just use the Thunder there. Now on Bayleaf, we can go Return, and this did about 1/3, so this this looks like a 3-hitter now. Razor Leaf, of course, with a crit will still knock us out though. But since we're pretty much just resigned to our fate of not being able to outspeed against that Haunter, I mean, we're not going to get the KO even if we do outspeed. I'm going to try giving a berry here just so that we heal a little bit of damage, and let's see what that does to the range. So back to Bayleaf again, we get a nice critical hit with return there. We heal a little bit of damage, and of course it just doesn't work out because we just take too many Razor Leafs. We needed to use a non-Razor Leaf move, which it has a chance to do as long as we're on high enough health. This time Bayleaf goes Reflect against us, which is also basically a death sentence because there's just nothing that we can do with the curse on. We're not going to deal enough damage. Poison Powder is of course much better from the Bayleaf here, and we actually managed to survive against the Razor Leaf and knock that Pokemon out. Out comes Magnemite. I will go Surf on this Pokemon. It's neutral, but it's enough to knock it out. And finally, against the Zubat, Thunder ends it, but that is really wildly inconsistent. That is not a fight that you feel good about at all when you're running this. So now we can make our way into Morty's gym, where yet again, Hidden Power Dark would be a little bit more consistent perhaps, but it's basically the same power as our Stab Surf. So I think we simply go with Surf here and just try to use this to get through all the randos and see how we then do against Morty. And now this is one where I definitely think we want to use the Mint Berry to hopefully be able to wake up off of a Hypnosis, because this fight could be pretty darn tough, but let's just see. So Morty attempt number 1, Surf on the first Ghastly is enough to get the KO, and we are faster there. We're also faster than the first Haunter. I'm gonna go Thunder here to get the KO on that Pokemon. Gengar, I'm going Thunder Wave after it misses the Hypnosis, and then we're gonna go Thunder, giving us apparently a 2-hit KO range. Fortunately, it's fully paralyzed, giving us the turns to actually land Thunder. We will not learn Spark here because it's just a weaker move, and out comes the final Haunter. We are faster, so I'm gonna go Thunder here and get the 1-hitter. So we can see that Thunder is enough to get us through Morty, but yet again, Thunder is already an OP unreasonable TM, and we just added another one with the max power return, and it's pretty clear we're not getting through Rival 3 without that. So Lanturn continues to be, while still in the running, effectively one of the worst Pokemon that you could try to do minimum battles with up to this point. The only reason that I continued that is because once we give up on trying to outspeed against the Haunter and we just accept that we're going to get cursed, it just comes down to the max power return and how many hits we can get. So really bad overall, but hey, we did manage to get through, so we'll just save the game like that. Let's move on to unevolved forms. Of course, we've got to check in on our Pikachu. Now, Pikachu, of course, is running a much more reasonable set of Thunder Punch, Quick Attack, Double Team, and Thunder Wave. But remember, Double Team, while it is a kind of broken move, is a level up move. I always allow these moves when they're through level up. I just don't like them when they're TMs. Add-on strats like Headbutt and Rollout here, and I think we're going to do just fine, but let's see how this actually goes. So here we get to learn Slam via level up. It's not a super accurate move, but I'm going to forget Quick Attack for this move just so that we have more coverage. So now the question is just, do we want to learn any TMs in this section? Mud Slap, of course, would be good against the Magnemite. Rollout could be a strategy, but for now I'm going to go with my moveset as is. Let's just try the Rival one time. So first off, against the Haunter, we're already faster, so I'm going to go Thunder Punch. This is going to be a 3-hit KO on this Pokemon, and the downside of being cursed, of course, is that we don't really get to set up any other moves. Here we can see with Curse plus things like Sonic Boom, we simply go down against the Magnemite very easily. Still, there's one thing that I want to check here, which is, can Curse ever miss due to evasion? This time he goes Lick instead on us, so I'm just going to use this opportunity to set up a bunch of double teams so that at least we're taking less damage here from our opponents. Of course, Curse still adds up to too much damage in this fight, I think, so we're simply going to get wrecked right there. So yeah, it looks like accuracy does not affect Curse, though being underground does. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but hey, whatever works. For now, let's simply make our way over to Olivine so that we can gain a couple extra levels. So back now at level 23, let's just see how we do against the Rival in this case. We're still going to be faster. We can go for the Thunder Punch, and then we pretty easily take that Pokemon down. Slam here against the Magnemite is Still not doing great damage. We're clearly not going to get through this. This is like a 4-hit KO. But let's just see if we change up our moveset a little bit here. So I'm going to go ahead and forget Slam in order to learn Mud Slap just for that Magnemite there. And then we might have to think about Rollout later on, but let's just see. Let's see if this strategy can work to get us through Magnemite more reliably. So this time we get Lick from Haunter instead, which is actually really good, and then we can just Mud Slap it down. So we have no curse in this one. And now I'm going to actually start setting up my double teams right here on the Magnemite, just because if I can get them all set up, I think I have good chances against the rest of the team. So here we can knock this Pokemon out. Very nice. Bayleaf, I'm going to paralyze it in order to reduce the chances of getting hit, and I'm going to go for some Mud Slaps as well in order to lower its accuracy. The whole idea here is to basically make it so that it can't hit me with anything, because accuracy and evasion do stack. So now while Thunder Punch is a really weak move, it's still doing enough damage that I think we're going to eventually get through this Pokemon. Sure enough, we do. Out comes the Zubat, and now we can go for the Thunder Punch to get the 1-hit KO. So this fight now comes down basically to not getting cursed by the Haunter. I think a critical hit could have gotten the job done, so that's why I'm going to keep that run, even though it's kind of lucky that he just used Lick. And even then, it's probably a range with the Thunder Punch in order to actually get the 1-hit KO on the Haunter. We've seen situations where I Thunder Punched and then he cursed and then he went down, and other cases where he survived 3 Thunder Punches there in that one. But still, it's probably possible to get it done. Of course, Paralysis could also be a way to go. Not perfectly consistent, but hey, we'll take it. And now here, just in time for Morty, we actually level up to level 26 on the last Chandler, allowing us to learn Thunderbolt with Pikachu. This is an obvious moveset upgrade. We will forget Thunder Punch all day in order to learn Thunderbolt, giving us effectively our strongest and best move for this run. Like, yes, we could learn Thunder later on, but Thunderbolt is really the best that we can get as far as reliability as we go through the run. Thunder is much more of a YOLO strat that maybe we'll need late in the game. We'll just have to see, but we're going to avoid that as much as possible. So here I'm going to go in with this moveset one time and just see what kind of ranges we get with our new Thunderbolt. If we need, we might think about the rollout strat though. Let's find out. So Morty attempt number 1, Thunderbolt is a 1-hit KO on the first Ghastly. We'll stick with Thunderbolt on Haunter, which is a 2-hitter. So we'll simply use a Mud Slap to finish that Pokemon off. Next, we've got the Gengar. We've got apparently a 3-hit KO here. And of course, we get Hypnosis and Dream Eater, so we lose. Now with that knowledge in our minds, we can basically find another strategy through this, I think. He's not guaranteed to just use Curse here, so I'm going to go for Double Team at the start in order to reduce the amount of hits that I take. Just the one Double Team, I think, already reduces the accuracy of Hypnosis enough that we should probably be able to get through this, but let's just see. Here we'll even give a Mud Slap just to lower accuracy even a little bit more, and then knock that Pokemon out. Haunter is the last Pokemon, Thunderbolt, and he manages to Nightshade us, so not quite good enough there. Let's just try this again. Now the optimal strategy is probably to go Thunderbolt and just knock out the first Ghastly, because I think it's more likely to use Curse, whereas the next Haunter, we know that it likes to go between Curse and Hypnosis. So I'm going to double team here. He misses Nightshade, he misses Mimic, now he finally curses, but we've set up a whole bunch of evasion here, and we even paralyzed the Gengar, meaning that we take 1 fewer potential hit there. Now we knock it out with no damage taken. We've still got plenty of HP for this final Haunter. It gets paralyzed, it's fully paralyzed, and just like that, we win. So yeah, Thunderbolt on the first Ghastly, then set up your double teams, and then Thunderbolt should be enough to get you through the fight. Is it perfect? No, but it is possible to get through with a Pikachu. Mud Slap, I think, is super important, just because we're going to need that for Magnemites. That pretty much tells me I think we're going to be stuck using Mud Slap at least until we get to Jasmine. On Jasmine, I think the strategy is going to be to set up all the double teams on the first Magnemite, maybe with a Paralyzed Cure Berry in order to prevent paralysis. And then we're just going to have to hope that we can deal enough damage with something to chip her down. That's going to be really, really tough. We'll just have to see how it goes, but maybe between Mud Slap and Double Team, we can manage to get through there. For now, though, that's the strategy that I got. We have managed to get through to this point in the game. Pikachu is still in the running. So that brings us to channel member StarDF29, who is running this Chinchou, of course. We ended up having to go all out in the previous section. Flail, Watergun, Confuse Ray, and Spark to have any shot. Here, I think we're going to have to go for pretty much the same strats that we used with our Lanturn to have any real chance. Now, Confuse Ray as a level up move that was passed down is actually a bit of an advantage because it is 100% accurate as a confusion inducing move. Still, I'm just not sure that this is going to be enough. Still, we do get through the Kimono Girls just fine. So with that, we have access to Surf, and I'm going to learn this immediately. We have no reason to keep Watergun on the moveset when we already know that our evolved form was using Surf later in the run. Now, I'm also going to go straight to Olivine with this one since we pretty much know we're going to need more levels. Like, we're not running Thunder with this Pokemon, so we already know we'll probably have to add that move on as well. There's really just not much to feel good about with this Pokemon here. But who knows? Maybe Chinchou pleasantly surprises me, but I kind of expect to go for Max Friendship Return here at the very least in order to have a better range. So here we have made it to the rival with this Pokemon. We're still too slow to outspeed against the Haunter, so I'm really not just feeling confident at all. But let's see. So here, let's go ahead and go for Spark, I guess, and just see how much damage we do. Not enough. We should probably go for Surf there to have any shot of knocking that Pokemon out. Out next comes the Bayleaf. The only thing we can really do is go Confuse Ray here and then hope that Flail allows us to deal enough damage. It does not, so we simply lose. So let's just see if we get a better range by going Surf here. Surf is enough to get the one hitter on the Haunter after it uses Curse on us. Now, once again, we go for Confuse Ray. Bayleaf is fully confused. The problem is it goes Reflect, so there's not much we can do to actually deal decent damage. We can paralyze it here, but then we're simply getting destroyed by the Razor Leaf. Now, there is one argument to be made for the Quick Claw, which is that a Quick Claw plus a critical hit would allow us to one-shot there against that first Haunter, but that's really asking a lot. We probably have higher odds of him going like Lick turn 1 than we do of getting the Quick Claw plus getting a Surf critical hit. Still, we can dream, can't we? So the other thing that's pretty clear is that we need a better damage dealing move against the Bayleaf, though. There's just no chance of getting through without it. So I'm going to give myself that Max Friendship Return. And with that, I also think that we have to give ourselves a Goldberry. That's the only thing that I think gets us through this in any way, shape, or form. Goldberries are farmable from the bug catching contest. You just have to get third place in order to get a Goldberry. So while it would definitely take a lot of time, I mean, at this point, we're already going on reasonable TMs. We may as well just go all in on this one. And that way, if we really can't get through, we can basically say we tried everything and could not get through with this Pokemon. So of course, the Goldberry guarantees that we will not outspeed against the Haunter, but that's fine because we're already not really outspeeding here. Let's just get the Surf to KO that Pokemon, and this way we at least get a heal here on the Bayleaf. So here it still hits the Razor Leaf and does massive damage, but we can go Return and just hope that it hits itself in confusion. Of course, if it goes Reflect, that's basically the end of the run. We're just gonna have to reset at that point. This time we get Lick from Haunter though, allowing us to still end up getting cursed. So really no benefit there. And we can see that the Return is actually looking like a 5-hit KO here. Even with the maxed out Friendship, we only did 15 damage and this Bayleaf has 65 HP. So we would need insane luck here. There's one reason why I think we have to go for Confuse Ray in order to hopefully get it to hit itself at least once, just so that we can take it out in 4 turns instead. We do manage to get the luck to knock that Pokemon out. Magnemite comes out next. We're going to go Surf, and it does not get the one-hitter, so Sonic Boom knocks us out. So there's only one last thing that we can really do here, which is to use Rare Candies. One Rare Candy puts us in a speed tie with that Haunter, and in theory at least, that could create the situation where now if we can get a critical hit on the turn where we outspeed, or if we can get the Confuse Confuse Ray and get some really good confusion luck, we might be able to get through this. We just need a run where we don't get cursed by the Haunter. This time we get Lick instead of Curse, and we confuse the Haunter, but it still manages to use Curse. We just need it to not use Curse for once. This is a little bit more consistent given that Confuse Ray is 100% accurate, and it's about a 1 in 4 chance for it to hit itself in confusion 2 turns in a row, which is the luck that we're going for here. And keep in mind, even when accounting for the fact that we're trying to win a speed flip, it's still higher chances than going for a critical hit. So here we finally managed to get through the Haunter with a Surf and confusion luck that allowed us to get through with no curse, no damage. We've made it to Bayleaf. I think we have to go Confuse Ray here. It hits itself in confusion the first turn, which is perfect. Hits itself again, which is great. Now it goes for the Poison Powder, but that allows us to knock that Pokemon out. We can now go Surf on the Magnemite. It's going to be a 2-hitter, but we do have enough HP to survive, and we knock it out with 2 Surfs. That brings out the final Zubat. We go Spark, get the 1-hit KO. So you have to use a rare candy. You still probably want the Gold Berry, and you have to go completely ridiculous with overpowered unreasonable TMs in order to have any shot of getting through with the Chinchou there. Honestly, it's pretty ridiculous, and this is already with us using this as a member pick, giving level up moves at an earlier level. Of course, we could use the unreasonable TM Thunder here, but I'm basically saying that unless you went to move heaven and earth to get this Pokemon everything that it needs, you are not going to get through the game on minimum battles with the Chinchou. That being said, because we have given this Chinchou literally everything that it could possibly want, we have managed to make it to the gym. And now let's just see how we do against Morty. And of course, Surf is enough to get us to the gym leader, so now it's just a question of whether or not we can beat him. I'm not feeling super confident, but I do think with the Goldberry, we can probably survive enough turns of Curse. We're probably going to have to confuse that Gengar and avoid getting the Hypnosis from it. We're not going to be faster than everything here. We might have some speed flips against the Haunters, I'm not sure. Let's get into this and find out. So first attempt against Morty, of course, the Ghastly is slower. We can go Surf, and that is a 1-hit KO to knock that Pokemon out. We are faster than the first Haunter, so we can use Surf, but it's a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon. I'll just use Spark to finish it off. Now we've made it to the Gengar, which lands the Hypnosis. Nothing we can do about that, and now Dream Eater is just going to be way too much to get through. So let's try round number 2. Surf again on the Ghastly. Haunter can get the Surf because if we do get a crit, it will be a 1-hitter. Instead, we get Cursed this time, which is pretty bad. Now I'm just going to go for Surf here on Gengar and see what the damage range looks like. It looks to be a 3-hit KO here, so I'm not sure. Maybe Mint Berry is the better way to go, just so that we can wake up on one of those Hypnosises. Let's see. This time we get Cursed by the Haunter, so I'm just going to go all in on attack here against the Gengar. It misses the first Hypnosis, misses the second Hypnosis. We just need to get through this next turn. Fortunately, the Mint Berry heals us of the Hypnosis right there, and we've made it to the final Haunter, and because we leveled up, we do outspeed here, so I'm going to go for Surf, and it goes for Nightshade and knocks me out. It was exactly 23 HP remaining after the Curse, and it's a level 23 Haunter, so we will need a critical hit somewhere in order to get this one to go. Basically, ideally, we want the critical hit on this second Haunter, or for it to not use Curse. There, it misses the Hypnosis. That's very, very clutch. Now Gengar, we just have to get the luck. I'm going to try to confuse this Pokemon just to try to buy myself extra turns. Here it does land the Hypnosis and then go into Dream Eater. Maybe, just maybe, if it had hit itself in confusion, we would have had a shot. Next attempt, we do get Cursed, so we're just going to go all in on the attack strat here, and we get put to sleep, so still really, really inconsistent on this one. So we might just have to go Thunder here. With Thunder, we might be able to one-shot the second Pokemon, that Haunter, that keeps cursing us, and that might be what we actually need. Now I'm opting to add this move on because of the fact that we were already using it with Lanturn. We're already in Unreasonable TM's territory. Of course, nothing about this is reasonable, but if you've seen the analysis that StarDF does on every single video, you would understand why I'm willing to go this hard to try to keep StarDF in the running. Let's just see how it goes now with Thunder. So here, of course, on the Ghastly, we're going to stick with Surf since it's the highly accurate move. We're only going to go for the Yellow Thunder here on the Haunter, which does get the one-hit KO, getting us to level 25. We could learn Spark via level up here. We will not, since Thunder is the stronger move. Now, we can really go anyway, but I'm going to confuse this Gengar. Let's just see the range with Thunder. This is looking like a 2-hit KO, and we can go Surf after getting the Paralysis. Now the final Haunter, we're kind of YOLO in it. Let's go for Thunder. We do get the KO there. So yeah, if you give this Pokemon absolutely everything, if you give it Thunder, Surf, Confuse Ray, which could be passed down via breeding, and Return, you can technically manage to get through on minimum battles with a Chinchou. That being said, was it good? No, that felt bad. That felt very bad. But I do think we have a few saving graces coming in. We have Thunder for Chuck's Poliwrath. It's also going to be good against the first couple of Pokemon on Price's team, and then Surf should take down the Piloswine. And Surf should be reasonably good against Jasmine. I mean, she's just got a couple of Magnemites. We saw Surf was doing enough damage there, and the Steelix really doesn't like Surf, so that should be fine. The question is just, how do we do when we get to Claire? When we're really not going to have anything other than Confuse Ray and Return? I'm not sure, but we're going to test that out when we get there. For now, we have managed to get through with Chinchou. Let's move on and check our results so far. And of course, I would just love to give a massive thank you to StarDF29 for supporting the channel. I always look forward to your analyses on all of the runs. It's the way that I go back and double check what happened on certain fights as well. So yeah, definitely give a like to a comment from StarDF if you see it on the video. So just like that, we can see that 2 of our challengers are now officially in the OPTMs category. The member picks did get through, but yet again did not look great getting through. So now let's try to finish on a high note. We have 4 Pokemon remaining, starting with Sandslash, the ground type. Now that I know the Dig is kind of overpowered here, I think we've got this one in the bag, but let's just see. And not only is Sandslash a Pokemon that's going to get Stab Dig, but it's also a Pokemon that can go for that Defense Girl rollout strat. So I think we've got more than enough to get through this section of the game. And while I wouldn't have just slapped Dig on at the beginning, I am going to use it right here because Vaporeon does way too much damage to Sandslash, but with Dig we can get this in a 2-hit KO range, and with that we can manage to get through. Since Dig is a same type move, it just makes way too much sense to learn with this Pokemon anyway, and we're going to be able to use that for quite a few sections in order to get, I think, a pretty decent advantage on our opponents. Still, I think rollout strats are going to come in as well at some point. For now, let's go ahead and get into the rival fight though and just see how this goes at our current level. But actually, I can see that we're just 2 points of speed slower than the Haunter right now. So with that, I think the best strategy is to go to Olivine. That way we can get access to 2 more levels for this medium fast level of Pokemon, and that will guarantee that we outspeed against the Haunter, and that should make that fight a lot more consistent. So coming back now, we have 1 point in speed more than the Haunter, and that should be all that we need. Now we can simply use the Dig strat in order to get through this. Let's see if our other moves are enough or not. So first up on the Haunter, of course, we'll just go Dig, and we can get the easy 1-hit KO. Out next comes Bayleaf, and we don't really have a good move for Bayleaf currently. Dig is technically stronger than Scratch because of the same type attack bonus, and then Poison Sting is pretty decent as well. We could go for the poison here, but we can see that the Razor Leaf is just going to do massive damage. And once we get this Pokemon poisoned, I will go for Dig to just try to stall that out for a minute, but we can see Dig only did about a quarter there, so there's no way that that move gets us through. So we need a better strategy here, and honestly, Headbutt might be the way to go. It's an upgrade on Scratch and gives us the chance to flinch, and that might be what we actually need to get through that Bayleaf more reliably. So against the first Haunter, the strategy is unchanged, a single Dig to knock that Pokemon out. Now on the Bayleaf, let's go Headbutt, and it goes for Poison Powder turn 1, then flinches turn 2, so we simply knock that Pokemon out. Zubat, we're going for more of the same. Headbutt, it's going to be a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon, We get confused, but still not too bad to get through that. And finally, Magnemite doesn't have anything good against the Sandslash. We'll dig. Even though we're confused, it kind of sucks, but we can simply snap out of confusion after that and knock that Pokemon out. Now we get a level up and learn Slash. Now, I'm going to keep Headbutt because we could flinch opponents. I'm going to learn Slash over Poison Sting for now. We'll think about the rollout strat later on, but for now, I think we can pretty much just stick with our moveset as is, because I'm pretty sure that Dig with a single Mint Berry will be enough to get us through Morty. Really, all we're going to be worried about is not getting put to sleep by that Gengar, and we can just make that more consistent with the Mint Berry. Slash, I think, will be really useful when we're going through the Rocket Hideout because it's just going to give us an easy way to knock out a lot of Pokemon quickly, and we'll just have to think about, we could always forget Headbutt and relearn it if we need to. Slash, being a high critical hit chance move of the same power, does make a lot of sense in a lot of fights. But just like that, we managed to get to Morty. Let's just see how Sandslash goes. I'm going to go in without the berry first because maybe we just need to miss one Hypnosis. Dig, of course, will take out the first Ghastly. We'll dig on the Haunter, which also gets an easy one-hit KO. Gengar comes out, it misses Hypnosis turn 1. Dig is a one-hit KO there. And now we get to the final Haunter. We are faster and simply knock that Pokemon out. So Mint Berry, optional. Like I said, it would just make that fight completely consistent because you could never be stopped from using Dig against the Gengar, but really, this Pokemon's never in question. You easily get through. And with that done, we're ready to move on to our last 3 Pokemon, all flying types, but a little bit different. Crobat and Golbat are fast and no bite in this section of the game, but they don't really have any good same type attacking moves. In the case of Xatu, on the other hand, it's a Pokemon that just has a really weird moveset for a flying type, so we're not going to have a whole lot of options here, but maybe we can get it to go. We'll just have to see. First up, let's check in on that Crobat. Now, Crobat comes in with Bite, Screech, Supersonic, and Leech Life. I think Bite is pretty much good to go here, though we might want to switch to Swift for coverage at some point. I'm really not sure, but for now, let's get into the Kimono Girls and just see how they go. And we even get to learn Confuse Ray here. I'm just going to learn it over Supersonic since the 2 moves are basically redundant, and Confuse Ray is perfectly accurate. Now, Crobat does manage to get through the Kimono Girls, though the final Jolteon was pretty hard. We did get one turn where it hit itself in confusion, and that's pretty much what we needed. We're going for flinches and confusion in that fight. But now the question is, can we make our way through the rival here with our current moveset? Do we need to upgrade? Let's get into this and find out. So first up, of course, we've got to get through this Haunter. I'm going to go Bite here. We really want to flinch there. We need to get a 2-hit KO, I think. Out comes the Magnemite. I'm going to confuse this Pokemon. It confuses me back, but now we're going to try to bite a magnet. This is not going to really work out given that we're cursed. Let's try this one again. So this time we do get the flinch from Haunter, so we get to knock it out nice and easy. We can go into Bite here on the Magnemite, once again looking for flinches and hoping not to get paralyzed. We do manage to get through with only 1 hit from its Thunder Shock, so we get through nicely. Zubat goes down, and now Croconaw is the only Pokemon left in front of us, and we are faster using Bite, so I think we're going to get through on this attempt. It's really about that flinch on the Haunter. Still, that's a pretty closely run thing. I think Golbat is going to have to go and get all the levels in order to have a decent chance of getting through that fight. And again, these are Pokemon that just don't have anything good against Magnemite. Still, without even going to Olivine, we have made it to Morty on minimum battles, and we're already faster than his entire team. So this really mostly comes down to flinch luck, I think. Let's just see how it goes. So first up against the Ghastly, we go Bite and get the easy 1-hit KO. Out comes the Haunter next. This is a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon, but it goes Nightshade. That's perfectly fine. Gengar's out next. Bite looks to be a 3-hitter. It flinches on the second Bite and misses 1 Hypnosis, so we do get through nice and easy. And now the final Haunter is just a 2-hit KO. Nightshade can't do enough damage, and we get through Morty on the first attempt with our Crobat. So that, of course, brings us to Golbat, a Pokemon that's already running Max Friendship Return from the previous section, and we're probably going to end up forgetting Screech in order to learn Confuse Ray here, if I have to guess. Still, this is not great, and maybe keeping Screech to go with Max Power Return is actually the best play. I'm honestly not sure here. What I can say definitively is that this Pokemon's not doing great. So I'm actually going to try to go with Screech. So I'm not going to learn the Confuse Ray here, just because I think honestly we might need to go Screech plus Return in some spot in order to get through a tough fight. In fact, I'm doing that right here on this Vaporeon, and we are managing to get through that Pokemon just fine. Still, it's not looking great. Now I am going to go and try my hand against the rival one time with Golbat because we are faster than the Haunter, so in theory we could go for the same flinch with bite strategy in order to avoid the curse, but the question is, does it actually work? So here we still do about half with the bite. Of course, he curses just after that, so we just need the flinch here. Let's see how it goes. Alternatively, of course, a critical hit will also get through. So there are a couple ways that we can get through that make this, I think, reasonable enough to try it on this Haunter. There we do get the flinch and knock that Pokemon out. Out comes the Magnemite, where I think we go Screech into Return, and it's not quite a one-hitter there. So we're gonna have to heal with the Goldberry here, but we will knock that Pokemon out. Zubat is out next. I'm just gonna go Return on this Pokemon. It's not quite a one-hitter as well. We just don't quite have the power here, but we've made it to the final Quilava. I'm going to go for the Screech into the max power Return. He goes Smokescreen. That shouldn't be a big issue. We simply knock him out after that. So once again, this Pokemon comes down to getting the flinch there on the Haunter. Once you get it, you can actually manage to get through. So now I expect to get to Morty just fine. We'll keep the Olivine trainers for later if we can. Let's just see how this fight actually goes. Like in general, I am going to avoid going to Olivine unless it's absolutely necessary, because in a typical run, you wouldn't want to have to go to Olivine before taking on Rival 3 and Morty. It's really just a last-ditch effort to avoid taking optional battles. Any non-minimum battles challenge, it would just be an utter waste of time. But just like that, we do make it to Morty. Again, we are already faster than his entire team, so I think a Mint Berry, but maybe even a Berry is the way to go. I'm going to try once without any items though. Let's just see how we do with the Bite strat. So here against the Ghastly, Bite is a one-hit KO, of course. Haunter is out next. I'm just going to Bite and get the flinch, so that's perfectly fine. We'll just knock it out the next turn. Gengar, we go Bite. This looks to be a 3-hit KO again. Here he does land the Hypnosis. Once he gets that, we're basically dead. So yeah, Mint Berry's probably the way to go, but keep in mind, he can get a flinch there or he can miss another Hypnosis. Either is fine. And he has pretty decent odds to miss the Hypnosis, better than 50% odds. This time we do get the flinch and the miss, so we knock out Gengar. And finally, the last Haunter can't do enough, so we're simply going to win. So yeah, the very next attempt, we managed to get through Morty. And yeah, our max friendship Golbat wants to evolve into Crobat, which is perfectly fine, but we're not going to let him. He has to remain a Golbat. So Golbat is through. I'm really worried about this Pokemon moving forward, of course. I think Screech plus Return is going to be super important in a lot of spots just to get the ranges, but this Pokemon faces a crazy gauntlet in the next section. I mean, what are we going to do against Jasmine, honestly? And then we also have to deal with the fact that Price is going to be using super effective moves against us, so basically, in theory, Chuck is easy, but that's about it. That might be where our luck runs out. We're going to have to get a stab flying move, I think, with Fly, or possibly with Wing Attack in order to get through those sections. We'll just have to see. Anyway, for now, Golbat does get through without going for any more broken TMs, but it's still a pretty unreasonable Pokemon. But with that, we have reached our final challenger of the day, Xatu, the super weird flying Pokemon that knows Peck, Leer, Nightshade, and Swift. So nothing that really inspires too much confidence. Once again, Hidden Power Dark and Max Power Return are our only two options if we need to upgrade our moves at all in this section, and honestly, we might need to. Granted, if those moves were enough to get a Pidgey through, I think they'll be enough to get a Xatu through, but let's test this to actually find out. Now, as a Psychic Flying Pokemon, of course, this Xatu really just wishes it could be Venomoth, but unfortunately, it's stuck with just this weird moveset that really makes no sense to me, and we've got two weaknesses against the Kimono Girls, both Jolteon and the Umbreon. I decided to take on Jolteon before Umbreon because it's less defensively bulky, and I'm not sure how we're actually going to do here against Umbreon, but let's find out. So Nightshade's probably our best move. It should be a 3-hit KO here, and with that, we do manage to get through before we get knocked out. Still, that is a pretty closely run fight there against both of those last two Kimono girls. And now the issue comes down to the fact that Nightshade, while it can hit ghosts, is not going to be a move that can like one-shot anything. And Peck is almost certainly not going to be one-shotting here against that Haunter. So really, Hidden Power Dark might be our only option. We are already faster, so I'm going to try this once just to see what kind of ranges we get, but I don't expect to win this attempt. So here on the Haunter, I'm going to try Peck. Peck did about 40%, so even after he uses the curse, we still don't have him knocked out. We knock him out the next turn. Out comes Magnemite, where the best play that we have is Nightshade. This will be a 2-hit KO. We get confused, but we do manage to knock that Pokemon out. Croconaw is out next, where yet again, we're probably in the best case using Nightshade, but at our current level, this is a 4-hit KO due to the fact that we're at level 22 and he has 67 HP. So one level would make this a 3-hit KO, but still not great. Now the question is, what if we instead add on the move Hidden Power? Now Hidden Power makes sense here for this Pokemon because it could potentially allow us to one-shot against that Haunter. That's all we're actually going for here, because otherwise I think that it's pretty much impossible that we're ever going to be able to actually get through this Pokemon. But now we can see we don't quite get the range there, so I'm going to simply reset and let's go to Olivine to get a couple more levels. I'm pretty confident that without Curse, this Pokemon would be able to get through the rest of the Rivals team without too much issue, so it's really just that Curse that's causing us problems. So back now with a couple levels and Hidden Power Dark, let's just see how this actually goes against the rival. We're going to be banking pretty hard, I think, on getting a critical hit on this first Haunter if it's not a 1-hit KO already. And he survives on 2 HP. He goes Lick there, so I'm going to stick with this because technically we could get a crit and knock that Pokemon out. Out next comes the Magnemite, where the only play is to go Nightshade and get the 2-hit KO. Fortunately, that Pokemon does go down. Croconaw out next will be a 3-hitter with our Nightshade. He goes Rage and then Bite, which allows us to knock that Pokemon out. Zubat is the last Pokemon out here, and with one Swift we do get it in a range to knock it out with a Nightshade. So just like that, we do manage to get through the rival. You're basically banking on either not getting Curse on turn 1 from that Haunter, or to get the critical hit with the Hidden Power Dark in order to get through that Haunter. Those are really the only ways that you're progressing through that fight. Now though, with Hidden Power Dark, I think we've got enough to get through Morty, so let's just get into the gym and test this out. So with our final challenger today, Xatu has a chance to at least look good against the Morty fight. Let's go. Hidden Power will one-shot against the Ghastly. Haunter is out next, where we get another 1-hit KO. Very nice. We're faster than the Gengar already, so we can go Hidden Power. It misses Hypnosis, and that's a 2-hitter to knock that Pokemon out. Finally, the last Haunter, we can go Hidden Power, get the 1-hitter, and just like that, we have managed to get Xatu through this section of the game with only one unreasonable TM. Not too bad given that it's a flying type, and it just has like the most random moveset ever. Like, we're pretty much waiting to get Psychic to have a really good move on our level up set, and at level 65 we're probably not getting that until the post game at best, at which point we would just get the TM anyway. So this moveset really just makes no sense to me. Xatu is just a weird Pokemon. Still, we have managed to get through that, so let's save the game and check on our progress as well as our challengers for next time. So at the end of this episode, we can see we've gotten through with 24 Pokemon. 4 Pokemon have now entered the OPTMs category. We haven't been using Struggle here, but yeah, I'm not sure if anything is actually going to fail here, especially because that Pidgey was able to get through Morty and Rival number 3 using Max Power Return and Hidden Power. Granted, it did also have Mud Slap on the moveset, so this is one of those situations where maybe everything will be able to get through this section, but Pidgey's days are absolutely numbered because it just has no answers for Jasmine, and even Price and Chuck are not going to be cakewalks for that that Pokemon. I think Xatu is really in the same boat because I don't think it's going to learn enough good moves in time to actually keep up with the competition. And the same kind of goes for Golbat. I don't think that Pokemon's going to have enough to go on for much longer. We'll just have to see, but at this point, I'm really nervous about the strategies for those Pokemon going forward. Anyway, next time we are coming back with 17 challengers. Of course, we've got the Nidos coming in, Nidoqueen, Nidoking, and Nidoking's unevolved forms. We've got our fluffy normal types, of course, the Clefairy line and the Jigglypuff line, including their baby forms. Ninetales is coming in, which means that channel member Pick Vulpix will be coming in for Roy Merkel as well. Venomoth and Dugtrio will be getting in on the action. Flaffy, Ampharos, Azumarill, and Sudowoodo. And honestly, this seems like a pretty good chance to get that Jumpluff in on the action as well, just to see a slightly different grass Pokemon, how it can do in this section. Place your predictions down below how many of these Pokemon get through in the next episode. I'll see you then. Until then, later guys.